Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Bat Around. I'm your host, Paul Valley. He's my co-host and producer extraordinaire, Zachary Allen Goodman. I don't know if that's his middle name or not. It's not, apparently. Today's show brought to you by Birdland Sports. Hey, O's fans, did you know that one of your fellow fans is the owner of Birdland Sports? That's right, Josh Soroka from the Section 336 podcast is behind Birdland Sports. He knows what fellow fans want and has created an amazing collection of merchandise just for you. From the popular Birds Are Coming tees to unique player cartoon shirts and World Series prediction designs, Birdland Sports has everything you need to show off your O's pride. And with prices more affordable than the big guys, you can support a small business run by one of your own. Also at Birdland Sports, you can get your very own Homer hose. Celebrate and stay hydrated all summer for just $15. Don't wait. Head to birdlandsports.com today and show your support for the birds with Birdland Sports.
Stay hydrated all summer.
Stay
with the Homer hose.
With the Homer hose.
Love that read.
Yeah. So, we've been staying plenty hydrated here. It's been raining for a year straight. It feels like really crappy weather. I played one baseball game this season, and now as of tomorrow's game is going to be canceled. That'll be two straight canceled, plus the Easter holiday in between.
Needless to say, I've had some work canceled this weekend. I was supposed to be somewhere yesterday, supposed to be somewhere tomorrow. Both got moved. So it's been an unfortunate little weekend. A lot of rain, not so nice out, but, you know, Mayflowers, right?
Yeah, needless to say.
Zayflowers, Mayflowers.
Needless to say, yet he still said it.
That's also accurate.
I'm just kidding. Well, welcome to the Bat Around. Another dreary, miserable freaking day. But we're not miserable in Birdland. The only thing that can stop the Orioles right now is the poor weather in Detroit. It rained them out last night. They have a doubleheader today. First game set to take place at 12:10. Actually moved the start of the first game up an hour because inclement weather is supposed to come into the forecast this evening, and they don't want it to interrupt the second game. So O's set to start the first game at 12:10. The second game at 5:10. Is it Tyler Wells in game one and not Tyler Wells, I'm sorry. Is it Dean Kramer in game one and Grayson Rodriguez in game two?
It's Dean Kramer game one. I'm not sure about game two, but I know Kramer's going. And the lineup is out, if you want me to read that out for you.
Yeah, I saw the lineup. You can do that in 1 second.
Sure.
It has to be Grayson because today would have been Grayson's start.
Yeah,
anyway.
that makes sense.
So I would imagine it's Grayson in game two. But yes, go ahead, read that starting lineup.
So Austin Hayes is leading off. Mountcastle batting second. Arias third. Santander fourth. Mateo fifth. McCann sixth. Mullins 7. McKenna 8. Ortiz 9 with Kramer on the mound. So Adley gets a day off.
Yeah, and well, he doesn't
not
get
a day off, but game off.
He gets a game off.
Yeah.
He still needs, I think, a full day off.
I agree.
Although he had that yesterday.
Yeah,
he had that yesterday.
That's true.
It was a full day off yesterday. Because I don't even think they went to the ballpark and started getting ready for a game.
Washout. Yeah.
They knew they weren't playing from the beginning. I like that Urias and Mateo are getting a chance to hit 3 and 5 in the order. They've been very productive recently, so go with the hot hand right now. Anthony Santander is still hitting fourth. Hit that big home run on, what was it, Thursday now?
Thursday,
But struck out in his previous 2 at-bats. He and Mountcastle they've got to get it going if they're both going to hit 3-4 in this order.
And Mountcastle today, too. So, you're right. Got to get going.
They've got to get the bats going. Mountcastle's hitting this. He's the unluckiest hitter in the history of baseball.
He's one of them.
All he does is hit hard exit velocity shots that go right into people's gloves.
Yeah.
Or he gets robbed of home runs. It's freaking ridiculous.
Yeah.
But the Orioles, they have won 9 of 10, 11 of 13, 13 of 16. They are 17 and 8. 17 and 8. Second best record in the American League. They are in second place in the AL East behind the red-hot Tampa Bay Rays, who started 13 and 0. And since that start, all they've done is go 9 and 5. A pedestrian 9 and 5 since then. They are 22 and 5, by far the best record in all of Major League Baseball. And they just so happen to be in the Orioles division. And lo and behold, the Orioles have the third best ERA in the American League and in Major League Baseball. And guess the 2 teams in front of them. You'll never guess. The Tampa Bay Rays and the New York Yankees. This division is stupid.
Yeah. Are you proposing a realignment? Is that what you're proposing?
There's got to be realignment. They're going to add 2 expansion teams at some point, sooner rather than later. And I have to imagine that they're going to realign, just like the NFL did.
Yeah.
Having the Yankees, Red Sox, Rays, now Orioles, and Blue Jays in the same division is ridiculous.
Well, first of all, geographically, it doesn't make a ton of sense to me personally. But if you put the Pirates in the same division as the Orioles, that would make a lot of sense, right? Like, it's going to have to be more like the NFL than, and not that the NFL makes sense either. I mean, the Eagles are in the same division as the Cowboys, which doesn't make a lot of sense. So geographically, the Orioles division doesn't make a ton. You've got New York all the way up here and Tampa way down here. So there will be some things that change. And if Tampa moves in the next few years, that's going to change more things. Yep. You could see a couple teams jump from the AL to the NL and vice versa. It's going to happen. I think eventually. But right now, this team and this division, all these teams are stacked, and the division is stacked. That's how it's going to be.
So what would that division look like then?
Pittsburgh has to be there, I would think.
Why Pittsburgh and not Philadelphia?
Oh, they would be too, probably. They just slipped my mind.
You only have two teams.
It could be Yankees.
Up north.
I don't think they're going to split up the Yankees and the Red Sox.
They won't. It's one of the best
happen.
rivalries in all sports. So it would be Yankees, Red Sox. I imagine they would probably put the Phillies in with the Yankees and Red Sox because Philadelphia is right near southern New Jersey.
Yeah.
Right? So Phillies, Yankees, Red Sox, and they'd probably keep the Orioles in that division.
Yeah, of course you've got the Mets too, and that they would probably stay in the NL East. You've got Washington, which is definitely going to stay in the NL East, given that the Orioles are one of their main competitors market-wise. So
right,
it's going to be interesting. But I think Pittsburgh is an obvious one, especially given the Baltimore-Pittsburgh rivalry that exists.
Maybe just do it the same way the NFL does, and have it be Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and Cincinnati in one division. Yeah. Well, I guess it would be, but then Miami in the East. But you have Miami in the East. You said the Tampa Bay is way too far south, but in the NFL, Miami is in the East.
You're right. And again, not that the NFL does it great either, but I think they're a little better at least. But again, the NFL does it differently though, because you have AL East, AL Central, and then AL West. But in the NFL, you have the South, you have the North, and you have the East. So it's just a little bit different. They do it.
Sounds like we're talking about Westeros.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the way they do it.
The North.
I'm not saying it's necessarily the best strategy. I'm just proposing that you could kind of use what the NFL does to kind of shape your new strategy if you're the Major League Baseball.
Totally random and off topic, but you know that commercial that comes on during every Orioles game where it's that one guy and he goes, "Sticky floors."
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Well, I don't even know what that commercial is for, but the guy doesn't.
They're doing their job.
The guy doesn't have an accent.
Yeah,
but he says "sticky floors."
Oh yeah. It's a classic. You know the best one though is the Sarasota commercial.
Oh my god! I changed the lyrics and they're inappropriate for radio. But
yeah. Da da.
Oh my gosh! My wife had no idea. I can't stand this. These blinds are closed, and I just feel like I'm trapped in here for some reason.
You are trapped.
I can see the outside through Zach's window, and I'm losing it with mine closed. Who's
that commercial's been on Masson for probably 10 years.
The Sarasota commercial. Family, those kids are in college now. The mom and dad are on AARP.
Yeah,
it's the same commercial from the first year they went to Sarasota.
The mom and dad are on AARP.
They 100% are now. So the Orioles, they played the Tigers on Thursday. It's their most recent game. They trailed 3-0 Thursday night. They looked dead in the water. Baby, they looked dead in the water. Anyway, what are we doing? What am I doing today? Joey Ortiz makes his big league debut in his first base hit. Welcome to the big leagues, kid. Akil Baddoo makes a diving play in the gap to rob him of a base hit. Yeah. There are some diving catches that are more impressive than others. I wasn't too impressed with that diving catch.
Yeah, I agree.
He caught that ball on a dive at about the same height of his waist.
He could have reached down. Correct.
If he had caught it on the run. That dive, to me, I mean, I guess sometimes you dive because you think you have to and the ball hangs up on you, which is probably what happened there. I don't like to say that Ortiz got robbed of a hit because he could have stayed on his feet and still caught it. But it looked like he got robbed of a hit. He hit a ball sharply into the gap. Akil Baddoo had him played correctly and made a nice play on the ball. Next at bat, go figure. He probably hits a ball 105 miles an hour off the bat. It gets caught. And then in his next at bat, he hits a bounding ball down the first baseline that takes a big hop over Spencer Torkelson's head and drives in two to put the Orioles down just 3-2. Cedric Mullins follows suit with an RBI triple. Adley Rutschman has the. Is this the same inning? No, it wasn't the same inning. It was 3-2. That was all the scoring for that inning. Then you get to the seventh inning, And Ortiz has the sacrifice fly.
Yes.
Cedric Mullins follows with the RBI triple. Adley Rutschman follows with the sac fly to tie the game at 4. And then Anthony Tony Tater Santander comes up and hits a 2-run homer, and the Orioles now lead 7-4. And actually, I think Adley's sac fly gave the Orioles a 5-4 lead because Cedric Mullins triple tied the game. But Orioles, they looked dead. They looked like they had no life. Kyle Gibson, arguably his worst start of the year for the Orioles, gave up 4 runs in 4 2/3 innings. You could tell from the get-go he didn't have. There were times where some of his stuff looked absolutely filthy in the first and second innings.
Yeah.
But he just had no feel for anything.
Yeah.
It was obvious. He couldn't get his breaking balls over. He had to go fastball, which when it's Kyle Gibson, you probably don't want to be the guy having to go.
You're 90-91, so no.
Well, no, he hits 94.
But that game,
94.
He was 90-91 though. As soon as he started, the command and control. Forget command. The control was, excuse me, so gone that he basically had to resort to one pitch, and he was just trying to throw it for strikes. He was finessing it, which I think he slowed it down a little bit. He probably slowed his arm down just to get it in the zone because he was throwing 90-mile-an-hour sinkers right over the middle that were doing nothing.
Yeah.
And guys were all over it.
Yeah.
And he couldn't throw any other pitch for strikes. I mean, the changeup was way off. The curveball was way off. His sweeper was way off. Everything was gone. So it wasn't very successful for him.
And the Tigers, they jump out to, what was it, 4-0? Was it 4-0?
I think it was 3-0.
It was a 3-0 lead.
Yeah.
CNL Perez comes in the 6th inning, and I would have liked to. It was the 7th inning, wasn't it? No, it was definitely the 6th.
I think it was the 6th.
Because Mike Baumann came in and finished out the 5th inning, and then he didn't come back in.
Yes.
For the 6th inning, and I thought he should have.
Mm-hmm.
But Brandon Hyde, to his point, look, the Orioles aren't playing in any blowouts one way or the other, right? So you're not going to get a guy like CNL Perez who has no options left, who was excellent last year, and you want to get him to figure it out. You're not going to find any low leverage situations for him right now. So the 6th inning in a 1-run game, when your team still has 3 more team at bats to try and tie the score or take the lead. I guess that's as low leverage as it's going to get for Perez, and he still couldn't get it done. He faced 4 batters. He hit 1, walked 2, got 1 out of the 4 that he faced, and then you bring in who came in after Baumann? I mean, after Perez, was it Baker?
I think Brian Baker.
It was Brian Baker.
Yeah.
Who comes in with the bases loaded, he gets an out, and then he walks a guy on 4 pitches that weren't competitive. Mm-hmm. And the next thing you know, now it's 4-2 right after your team just got the game to within a run.
Yeah.
Now it's 4-2. Luckily, the Orioles came out in the 7th inning and scored 5 runs and took the lead for good 7-4. But with CNL Perez, what do? At some point, you've got to say, look, man, we've given you every opportunity to figure this out.
Right.
And you haven't done it yet.
Well, if this was the 2019 Orioles, you would say, absolutely, we're keeping him around. And he's going to be there for probably the whole year. But this is a competitive team, one that is in a position for the first time in a long time to make a somewhat deep playoff run. You've got to do what's best for the team. Unfortunately, right now, he has not been worth much at all. Of anything. And like you said, there's way too many high leverage situations for a guy who can't get outs in those situations. And you have Michael Givens, you have Dylan Tate, they're coming off the injured list. You've got to make moves in probably the next 2 weeks. I would assume Michael Givens is probably very close, and Dylan Tate seems a lot closer than I originally expected as well. These 2 guys are going to have to find spots. They're good high leverage relievers. Perez has shown that he's not. Despite what he did last year, you've got to make the decision that benefits you this year. Unfortunately, that may be a DFA.
Yeah, and I don't know that we've reached that point yet.
Well, if he doesn't have any options, what are you really going to do?
Right. That's the thing. Are they going to option somebody like Keegan Aiken or somebody like Mike Baumann? Or they're not optioning Yenny or Cano, and I can't imagine
they're not going to Baumann either.
Bauman's not going to go either. So are you going to get rid of Keegan Aiken? But you have to make 2 moves.
Yeah.
You have to make 2 moves to get those guys back on your roster.
And neither are lefties.
Right.
So it makes it harder.
Yeah, I think you're right. The S is going to have to hit the fan here soon. You're going to have to figure out what to do here with Perez because currently he's the worst reliever on your team.
Yeah.
It's not getting any better.
Maybe you can sell him to a team for international bonus money or something along those lines. I don't know. Maybe some team would be willing to take him.
Yeah.
If they're willing to swing a small trade. but I don't think you're going to get a lot.
Probably not. I mean, some team is going to think, you know what, we can get this, we can figure this guy out.
Yeah.
And
it'll be like what the Orioles got for Richard Blyer a few years ago, probably, which I don't remember what that was. So it wasn't significant.
It was, wasn't it, his last name begins with a V, Velez or something like that, or he was.
I don't remember that.
He was a pitcher. They said who had impeccable control, and he could make it to the majors that same year. And he's been really.
I'll find this out.
He's been really bad for the Orioles since he got into their minor league system. But speaking of the Tigers have won 5 straight before losing to Cleveland on the 19th. They come to Baltimore, and they lose 3 straight. Then they go to Milwaukee. They win 2 or 3. And then they welcome Baltimore in, and they immediately lose again. The Tigers are 1-11 against the American League East, and 8-3 against everybody else. To me, the Orioles throwing a wrench in their spokes. It's really great to see the Orioles. They're 4-0 against the Tigers this year. Last year they went 1-5 against them. Like, this is a team that if you want to be one of the better teams in baseball, you've got to do to the Tigers what the Orioles are doing to the Tigers. It's been really great to see. Led, of course, on Thursday by Joey Ortiz in his major league debut. 1 for 3, a 2-run single, a sac fly, 3 RBIs again, robbed of a hit in his first at bat. He deked the runner at second base and almost got an out because of it on Ramon Arias tried to turn a double play and ended up not getting an out at all.
Isaac De Leon, by the way. It took a lot of digging, but Isaac De Leon was the guy they got for
Isaac De Leon. Well, he got sent down there. Blyer went down at the same time as... No. I was thinking of Cole Sulser and Tanner Scott. That was the guy. That was the pitcher that came over.
You're right.
But getting back to Joey Ortiz, do you remember the play that I'm talking about?
No, sorry. I was kind of zoning out trying to figure out who got the... Who was the trade?
It was a ground ball to third base.
Mm-hmm.
Arias kind of...
Oh, yeah, okay, yes.
A slow throw to second, and then Ortiz's throw bounced to first.
Ortiz got nothing on it. He kind of had to pivot and throw and really got nothing behind it.
But that wasn't the play.
No.
That was the play itself, but we don't care about the throw. Ryan Mountcastle has to pick that. And
100%.
And we're going to talk about that here in a second. But then the guy was it Maton who slid into second base?
It was, yeah.
And he stands up and Ortiz goes, "No, you're out." And he starts to walk off the field, and Mountcastle
bounces the throw to third.
Bounces the throw to third base, and then the guy still gets back into second base safely.
Yeah.
Do you think Ortiz did that intentionally? Do you think that he really thought that Maton was out?
I don't know. I was still trying to dissect what happened in that play after I watched it, because he gets up and he's just jogging to third. Mountcastle has no idea what's going on. He makes a horrible throw. I don't think Ortiz would have done that intentionally.
Well, so here's what happens. They showed it from the third base angle, right? So Arias makes a throw to second, and Ortiz catches it. He throws to first. Maton slid. So he stands up, and he's looking back at the umpire, and Ortiz looks at him, and he goes, "No, you're out." So he goes, "Okay," and he starts to jog off the field, and then Ortiz immediately puts his hands up, right? Because so at first you're thinking he knew exactly what he was doing, but then you remember that the ball had bounced past Mountcastle, and so the guy's running. He's thinking that the guy that was at first base is running to second, so maybe he's putting his hands up to make that play.
Yeah.
Then they realize
it's possible
that guy's going back to first, and that Maton is stuck between second and third. To not even get an out on that play,
I was going to say
all the things that happened. That was some ugly baseball.
To me, that was inexcusable defense from Arias. Inexcusable defense from Ryan Mountcastle.
No chance of getting the guy at second.
You got to charge that ball. If that ball's hit that weakly, that was probably an exit velo of 75, 80 miles an hour. That was not a hard hit ball.
If that.
That goes to third base. Arias just waits on it. He's sitting there letting Maton slide into second. First of all, Ryan Mountcastle's got to pick that. Second of all, I should say, Ryan Mountcastle's got to pick that every time. Every time. That was not a great throw from Ortiz, but he really had no chance because he had to stay on the bag because of the bad play by Arias, and he had to kind of bounce the throw because he got nothing behind it. It was a tough play for Ortiz to make. And Mountcastle has got to make that play. And there's been probably 10 of those for Mountcastle this year already. I've gone, wow, he needs to make that play.
I think that's an exaggeration.
It's been a lot.
There's been like 3.
It's been more than that.
No,
there's undoubtedly been more than that.
There's been like 3 that he hasn't picked where I was like, how did you not pick that?
I don't know. I mean, there's been a couple from Gunnar Henderson alone that Mountcastle should have picked.
Well, but
there's been a few from Mateo, especially early in the year. There were a few from Mateo, and there's been a few not from Frazier yet, but from the third base and shortstop side, there has been quite a few so far.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, the throw that Gunnar made last week from shortstop on the running play that hit Mountcastle's glove in the air and he didn't catch it.
Yeah,
a couple throws. The throw on opening day from Mateo, it was a bad throw, but Mountcastle's got to pick that. A lot of people think it was Mountcastle on that throw from Gunnar the day before the play last week, and it was actually O'Hearn at first base where he basically rolled it there and it rolled under his glove anyway. But no, Mountcastle has been significantly worse defensively this year than he was last year. What do you think is behind that? Do you think it was smoke and mirrors last year? Or do you think that maybe he's getting frustrated at the plate and he's taking it to the defensive side of the field? What do you think is happening there?
I mean, I don't necessarily think he would have been happy with his plate appearances last year either because he didn't have as good of a year as he did his rookie year. So I don't know if it's necessarily that. I just think maybe last year might have been a fluke. You look at the defensive metrics, they've dropped off the board. Every single one has shown him just plummeting in defensive value. And this year, it's becoming a problem and quick. And I think the Orioles are going to need to figure that out because it's been, again, Gunnar Henderson and Mateo and some of the throws that he's missed should have been made. They should have been made. And Ortiz, the one last week, it should have been made. These are plays that most first basemen make. Yeah. And I know not every guy is going to be great at first base. That's the position you put generally your, lesser athletic guys there. And not that Ryan Mountcastle is an athletic because his run metrics are incredible. But for some reason, he's never been a good defender. In minors, he got moved off a shortstop, and then he got moved off of third base. Then he went to the outfield. He got moved off there, and now he's at first. It's just been a rocky road for him defensively. And maybe last year was a fluke. I guess that's what we have to think. I don't know.
I tend to think that guys... I remember Chris Davis in 2012. When he played first base, he wasn't a great first base. He wasn't a great defender at first base. And everybody's like, "Oh, he's got stone hands over there. He's got stone hands over there." And I looked at his career fielding percentage over there, and it was .995, which was higher than a lot of Gold Glove winning first basemen in the league, or Gold Glove caliber first baseman in the league. And then the next year, he was a Gold Glove finalist at first base. I think sometimes you just slump defensively. I think Mountcastle's going to figure it out. I think he's going to get every opportunity to figure it out because honestly. Who the hell else is going to play first base? You're going to play Ryan O'Hearn every day?
No.
You're going to play him? Are you going to call up Lewin Diaz and play him every day? You can call up Josh Lester, who either hits a home run or is out. They don't have any other options, which is what we're going to talk about in Orioles banter, about the moves that we thought the Orioles should have made in the offseason, the moves they did make, and how they're panning out to this point. Spoiler alert there. Despite the defensive woes, the Orioles are still 17-8. Again, won 2 straight, 9 of 10, 11 of 13, 13 of 16. The pitching's come back down to earth a little bit, but the Orioles are still winning. Because the bullpen's been absolutely phenomenal. 2.74 ERA, third best in the American League and the majors behind Tampa Bay and the New York Yankees. And that brings me to Felix Bautista, who we'll talk about quickly before we get Stan on the line. Felix, his ERA is still like 1.54, something along those lines. And he's 5 of 7 in. He's 6 of 8 in save opportunities. But he's been erratic in his last 4 outings. 4 outings totaling 4 innings pitched. He's allowed 3 hits and 4 walks. 3 hits and 4 walks in those outings. On Thursday, I think they said he became just the third pitcher in Major League history to face 6 batters in an inning, walk 3 and strike out 3 and not allow a run. What are we looking at with Felix Bautista? Are you worried? Because what seems to be hampering him now is what hampered him in the minors, and why it took him so long to get to the major leagues, because he couldn't throw strikes. And right now, he seems to have lost the feel for his splitter, which is his out pitch. It's when you're hitting your spots at 100, and then you're throwing it a velocity differential of 12 miles an hour on a splitter that's dropping off a table. It's filthy. The problem is he doesn't have control of either pitch right now, and the splitter isn't moving like it used to. Are you concerned, or is he? And I can see what's happening with him mechanically. It was what Grayson Rodriguez was doing in his first start, where he's yanking the ball. He's pulling his throwing arm across his body. He's falling off the mound, and he's not hitting his spots because of it. Are you concerned, or do you think that he's going to figure it out?
Well, I said this last week. I still think that there are so many major league hitters out there who, if that 100-mile-an-hour fastball is mislocated, are going to put a barrel on that. There are a lot of major league hitters that can do that. And there are some that probably are going to swing and miss more than often, but there are some good hitters. And Javi Baez last week, you saw that in Detroit, was able to put a barrel on one, and that's not even that good of a hitter. And there are other guys that are going to be able to do that. If the splitter isn't working, the fastball is not going to be really that much of an advantage for them either. These are major league hitters, the best guys of the best. So I do think that the league is a little bit caught up there, and they start to think, okay, if the splitter is going to be that dirty, let's just wait on a fastball and wait until he mislocates one. And like you said, the mechanics are way off right now, and he's just not locating where he wants to. And again, guys are sitting on the fastball, and then they're walking if it's not even close to the zone. Things are not going necessarily well for him right now, but I actually think this is a good thing. I think it's good to face adversity because he really hasn't. This is the first time he's really faced any kind of adversity in his whole Major League career, so I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I think that's probably a step towards him getting better in the long run. So I wish it didn't happen now, but it's better than it probably happening in August or September when you're deep into a chase for a playoff run.
Yeah, and it's happening now against bad teams. So
exactly.
And so he's still getting the job done, and he's coming through.
Yeah.
You get a little bit nervous, but if I can see what the issue is, he's not.
I'm sure he knows.
And he knows too. He's not square.
Yeah.
And you can tell that he's trying to figure that out. Because on Thursday, his fastball was like 97 miles an hour instead of 100, 101, like we're used to seeing. You're seeing 97 is fast. It's fast as F.
Yeah.
All right, but he's throwing it 100, 101 miles an hour usually, so 97 looks slow for him.
Yeah.
He's still yanking across his body. He's got to figure out a way. And look, he still struck out the side. He still struck out the side around those 3 walks. He's got to figure out how to not pull his arm across his body, how to not fall off the mound, and how to finish square. Yeah. And maybe and this is also happening with guys on base. So maybe it's one of those situations where he's now worried about the fact that he's so slow to the plate from the stretch that maybe he's thinking about that too. By the way, walking Tyler Nevin, who is 1 for 22, that should never happen.
No.
That should never happen.
And that's a guy you probably can throw 100 miles an hour and put it, make some misses with it, and he'll probably swing and miss.
He's a guy who came up against CNL Perez earlier in the game. Perez had just walked he came up against Brian Baker, who had just walked the previous batter on 4 pitches to walk and a run, and he swings at the first 3 pitches, 2 of which were balls. Like Tyler Nevin is I hate to say it because he's a former Oriole, he's a former first-round pick.
4A player.
I feel bad for the guy, but he's not a major league player.
No.
He's not good. He's not any good. And he's getting himself out at this point, and you still manage to walk him there in the 9th inning. That's something that you just can't do.
Frankly, half the Tigers lineup is in that same boat, in my opinion. I don't really think there's much danger in that lineup at all.
Oh, they're the worst offense in baseball. They're averaging 3 runs.
Yeah, I mean, you face Miguel Cabrera these days, and it's.
He should have retired 3 years ago, but
he's no threat.
he wanted to get. We got to get Stan on the line. He wanted to get to 3,000 hits, and he has 1 year left on his contract. The Tigers. It's not like they have somebody that's banging down the door to replace him yet. So I can understand why he stuck around for a little bit. But that dude's hitting 7th or 8th every night now. Today's show, while we got Stan on the line, is brought to you by PressBox Online Offers. Baseball season is here, and for the first time in history, you can bet from your phone in Maryland. Go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers for the best sportsbook offers and incentives so you can start winning today. Get up to $1,000 in deposit bonus match plus a $50 free bet with DraftKings. Just go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers to claim your incentive today. Joining us now on the line for his weekly segment, he is back. He is Stan the Fan. Charles, Stan, good morning. How are you?
Good guys. How you doing?
Doing well. We're doing well, Stan. And we were just talking about Felix Bautista, and he's been a bit erratic in his last 4 outings. Now, the good news is it's coming against bad teams. So he's still been getting the job done. But his whip, his last 4 outings is 1.75. He has the 1 blown save in there. Three hits, 4 walks. To me, Stan, it looks like he's kind of yanking his pitches. It looks like he's pulling his throwing arm across his body, falling off the mound. Have you seen the same thing, and are you concerned at all, or do you think it's something they'll get figured out?
I think they'll get it figured out. I'm not that much of a pitching coach, so I haven't noticed that. Clearly, his control isn't what it had been last year. No question about it.
Yeah, it looks to me like he seems to have lost the feel for a splitter. Every now and again, he'll pop off a good one. But if that pitch isn't in the zone and he's struggling to find the zone with his fastball, he's going to struggle a little bit. But again, it's against bad teams. He was really good at the beginning of the year, which it still is, and he was really good last year. I think he'll get it figured out too. Now, Stan, the Orioles seem to have figured out how to win.
Did you? I'm just curious. Did you like bringing him in the other night with a 4-run lead?
So it was
got a 4-game series in front of us. He had pitched the night before. Now it's turned out he got a day of rest yesterday, like the whole staff. But I didn't like it. I would have stuck with Keegan Aiken.
Stan, I didn't like it either, which is strange to say because I've never been the biggest Keegan Aiken supporter, but he's been really good recently. And when your team is up by 4 runs in the 9th inning, I was kind of scratching my head too, knowing that you have a 4-game series coming up. I think you're absolutely correct, and it's right in the middle of 10 days in a row, 10 games in a row without a break. I agree with you, Stan, 100% there. I thought the same thing.
Now,
go ahead.
The possibility is that he's seeing some of what you're talking about and wanted to get him straightened out against a lesser opponent. But it was probably the ugliest outing I've seen him have since he came on the radar. That was a bad outing.
Yeah, but you know what though? He didn't allow anything. He managed to get through it. The Orioles managed to pick up the win. I thought he was equally bad on Thursday. I mean, he faced 6 hitters, Stan. He walked 3 and struck out 3. So you take the good with the bad, I suppose. But again, it's good that he's doing it against the softer opponents right now because they've got a gauntlet coming up starting the second week or actually the first weekend in May with Atlanta, then Tampa Bay. They've got the Yankees, the Angels, the Blue Jays, the Guardians. It's going to be a tough May schedule, so hopefully he can get it figured out soon. And that brings me to the Orioles as a whole, Stan. They haven't really put their best effort together for the season. They either hit the hell out of the ball and don't pitch well, or they pitch really well and don't hit. Yet they've managed to keep on winning. They've won 9 of 10. They've won 11 of 13, 13 of 16. They've won every series but 2, including 6 straight. They're 9-0 in series openers, 17-8 on the year. That's the first Orioles team in franchise history with 17 wins before the end of April. Stan, the question here is this team special, or are they just playing soft opponents at this point?
It's probably a little bit of both. I'm not willing to say the Orioles are a special team yet after 25 games, but they clearly, unlike the Orioles we've followed the last 4 or 5 years under this rebuild, and the last couple years under the Duquette Showalter regime, they show an ability to come back from games that I hadn't seen. In those teams. And those were bad teams, frankly. But I like, the other night they're down 3-0 and 4-0, and it was like nothing. They just scored 5 runs, like boom. And that's a good sign on a team when they don't feel like they're out of ball games.
Yeah, Stan, 17 wins and 9 of them are comeback victories already. They were pretty damn good at that last year at coming back. I don't know the record off the top of my head, but I know that they were kind of the cardiac kids last year, where they had the ability to come back, especially late in ball games.
Yeah, they did a pretty good job of that last year, but this year it's like a whole different level. This isn't even where they're cardiac kids most of the time. Most of these comebacks kind of come. They just erupt out of nowhere. It's not like you're scratching your fingers and biting your fingers and going, "Can we come back?" They just suddenly they have the lead.
Yeah,
I know it's not a real scientific explanation of it, but it's been impressive to watch.
Well, and
while I'm not saying they're special yet, there's certain special qualities that they have that I like.
Well, Stan, let me ask you something then. And I'm kind of stealing a little bit of the thunder from Zach's and my Orioles banter segment coming up later in the show. But what do the Orioles need then to be special? Because they haven't been able to click on all cylinders yet they still have the third best record in baseball at this point. They're on the cusp of being a really great baseball team. But it feels like there's a little bit of something missing there, and I think it's in the lineup. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, for the most part, I wrote, it was interesting, I wrote an observation column about 10, 12 days ago, and I said one of the things that they really needed to improve on was the bench of the team. And since then they've added O'Hearn. They brought him up like a day or two later, and then they brought up Joey Ortiz, who, he's driven in as many runs as Ryan McKenna in one game,
Yeah.
The bench on this team I still like the catcher. I know McCann's not hitting really well, but I like him as my backup catcher.
Yeah.
And even given, I like him even more that he's in a situation where he's going to play a little more than most backup catchers. I think that will, in the end, that will help him get his swing back together and his offense, because he was a pretty good offensive player for a couple of years with Detroit. But I'd say the bench is a little weak, and I'd say if you could swap out. Now I know Kevin Brown seems to be mystified that Ryan Mountcastle just can't get a break, and that his hard hit rate is incredible. But to me, if there was a guy in the middle of that lineup that was getting the job done, and maybe Ryan will do that, I would feel a lot better about the overall roster. That probably has something to do with the fact that he's not, other than that one game he had 9 RBIs. I mean, what, it was 6 RBIs?
9.
How
it was
many
9.
RBIs did he? 9. It was 9 RBIs.
Two home runs, 9 RBIs.
Yeah, right, 9 RBIs. Other than that one game, his production has been, less than stellar. And I'd say Santander hasn't been really showing signs of coming out of it, but he hasn't been real good yet either.
Yeah, no, he absolutely hasn't. And my big concern coming at the end of last year and coming into this year was keeping those guys hitting 3-4 in your order. I think that more often than not they should be hitting 5-6, but you don't have that guy that can hit in the middle of the middle of the order. Yeah, to your point about James McCann. There's juice in that bat. He hits a lot of baseballs hard. So I like him as a backup catcher. I was at the game on Monday when he threw the guy out at second from his knees. That was awesome.
Right.
When he's in the lineup, I have much more confidence in that than when it was Robinson Chirinos last year. I love the McCann addition.
Yeah, I like him as an addition, and I'm continually. Look, I get that Mountcastle hits the ball in some bad luck and he hits it hard. But at the end of the day, a guy with that much talent or in that position in your team where he's going to play every single day, he's got to do more overall. Well, because you take that 9 RBI game out of his resume this year, and it's an 11 RBI guy.
Yeah, 4 home runs, 11 RBIs, who had when he walked on Thursday, it was his first walk in 3 weeks. It was just his second walk since opening day. He has got to he's so aggressive, which I don't mind to a certain extent, but he's so aggressive. He's making a lot of first or second pitch outs. And he's got to be willing to take a pitch, especially hitting in the middle of the order. Now, if he's doing what he's doing from the 5 or 6 hole in the lineup, I can live with that. But you don't have somebody. I thought that maybe they should back Rutschman cleanup, but they love him in the 2 hole, and Gunnar hasn't gotten off to a good start. And once Gunnar picks it up, I think that this team's offense is going to get that much better. But right now, Gunnar, Mountcastle, and Santander hitting in the middle of the order and struggling the way they are has not been good for the team.
I think you got to move Mateo up.
Well, they did today.
Undoubtedly, and he is today. But that's only
that's where I'd be going with this batting order.
Yeah, I think they only did it today though,
especially against left-handed starters.
Yeah,
I would probably have Mateo leading off with Hayes batting second.
Okay.
Rutschman third.
Yeah.
Santander fourth, and Mountcastle fifth.
Well, I was going to ask you about that, Stan. Have you been pleased with Mullins' production in the leadoff spot? He's been very hot lately, extremely hot. But it seems like every time they. Go ahead.
I think some of his good production has come from the fact that the managers dropped them down some, at times against
and today batting 7th.
Yeah. I like Mullins is having a nice season so far.
Yeah, and he's walking more.
Look, I love the fact we're 1/6 of the way through the season right now, roughly, and I love the fact that if you multiply 16 times 6, you'd have Gunnar Henderson walking close to 100 times, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, Mullins, but Henderson, and Rutschman.
Do you like the 6 times 28 strikeouts That was not what I was expecting out of him.
See, I think both walks and strikeouts are due to go down, though, because when he starts hitting, he's not going to have the chance to walk as much, and he'll probably won't strike out nearly as much as he is right now. So I think those will eventually even out, where he won't get probably to 100 walks, but I guess it's promising to see when a guy's hitting 200 but also walking a little bit more than you expect him to.
So, Stan, the way I look at Gunnar right now is 2021 Gunnar versus 2022 Gunnar, where he's going to walk a lot, he's going to strike out more than he walks, but then he's going to figure it out. I think that next year, and you hate to look forward to next year already, I think he's going to put it together, but I think that you might see him top out at about 250 this year, and then in the offseason, he's going to be like, all right, I know what I need to work on, and then you'll see him kind of take that jump from 2023 to 2024 that you saw from 2021 to 2022 in the minors. That's the type of player that he strikes me as somebody who's going to figure it out in the offseason and improve upon the weaknesses.
No question. There's no question. He's an extremely young player. You know, I did not foresee the problems he's having. I didn't expect we'd be talking about a 194 batting average for Gunnar Henderson. You know, but by the same token, it's not like I've lost faith in him.
Sure.
Even if it comes down to sending him down to the minors.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it's April 29th.
There's been a lot of players. Yeah, he's got a lot of time in front of him. Trust me.
Yeah. Now, Joey Ortiz, he gets the call, Stan. He was the first minor league short infield prospect to get called up by the Orioles this year. Terrin Vavra sent down as the corresponding move. Ortiz gets his first start in his first game. Goes 1 for 3 with a 2-run single, sacrifice fly. He got robbed of a hit in his first at bat. He was a major part of the Orioles' victory on Thursday. That glove is, we've been told it's elite. It looks elite. It's been Major League ready for probably 2 years now. Do you anticipate that Ortiz, and he's in the lineup today, again, for the second straight game, is he going to get a lot of run here, and at whose expense?
It could come eventually at Gunner's, expense. I mean, I don't think the club's going to lose faith in Gunnar Henderson, but I think they like. I looked up the batting average today before it went on. Frazier's hitting like 213.
Yeah.
But yet I see a professional hitter there. Not really concerned about him, but I think Ortiz is going to get some playing time.
Yeah.
I think he'll. I think he'll get his at bats right now. I think they really want to explore what he adds to the team.
And the other thing about that, Stan, is that when you have either Arias, Mateo, and Ortiz, or Arias, Mateo, and Frazier around the infield, third to second, that's your best defensive lineup. And you hate to say it because Gunner's a good defender, but the throws have been erratic. The defense has been erratic to this point, just like the rest of his game. Ortiz gives them the better opportunity to get more from their starting pitchers right now, even if it's by a slim margin, than Gunnar Henderson does. I never thought about the idea that it could be Ortiz taking the playing time away from Gunnar. I still don't think that necessarily would be the case, although I don't believe Gunnar's playing in the first game of the doubleheader today, and Ortiz is. So there may be something to that. Were you surprised, though, that it wasn't Jordan Westberg, who's been tearing the cover off the ball down in Norfolk, that it wasn't Westberg called up because he can also play the outfield?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. If I had read the tea leaves that they were about to make that move with Vavra, my guess would have been Jordan Westberg. Would have come up before Joey Ortiz. But whatever the reason, I think they may feel that they like the idea of having somebody that can play really strong defense at the shortstop position.
Yeah. You know what? That's the excellent point. If you have somebody that can play really good shortstop when Mateo needs a blow here and there, that's the ideal situation. And it's not like Ortiz has been a slouch at the AAA level either. He's been hitting like 350 since the middle of last year there. So it's the move makes sense, especially when you consider the glove.
I mean, look, we all love Mateo, what he offers. His injuries seem to come out of nowhere, Mateo. And I'm not saying that they've said, hey, we got to do something by shoring up shortstop because Mateo's injury prone. But his injuries seemingly come a lot of times where he'll just swing the bat and get hurt, or start to run down first base and gets hurt. So they may have felt more comfortable with Ortiz up here right now.
Yeah, no, I get that. Now, Stan, the Orioles, a lot of the reason they've been able to stay so competitive right now is the bullpen has been absolutely nasty. And it seems like it was just 2 weeks ago, because it was, that we were talking about our major concerns with the bullpen. You blink your eyes, Stan. Now they have a 2.74 unit ERA, third in the American League and the majors, behind just Tampa Bay and New York Yankees. Of course, they're two division rivals. Cionel Perez, the 1 weak link, he seems to put 2 or 3 guys on every inning that he comes in. When Dylan Tate and Michael Givens are ready to come back, is that the end of the line for Cionel Perez, because he's the one guy that you don't really trust at this point?
Well, he is the one guy you don't really trust, but he is the one dominant left-hander they have. So I'm not so sure that we'll see that be the end of the road for him. We'll see. I don't have a crystal ball to figure out how they're gonna do this. You know.
Sure.
I know teams are reticent to give up on players that had a special season the year before. You know, that they try and figure it out by taking the path of least resistance, which would be the guys that are optionable before you do that. So, I don't see them just giving up, because Perez has no options, right?
Yeah, he's completely out of options. It's either you DFA him and you're going to lose him, or you trade him, or you keep him.
I mean, I'm looking down at Norfolk. Darwinzon Hernandez has really been kind of interesting. 9 innings pitched, 14 strikeouts, but that's replacing Cionel Perez with another guy that you'd have to get on the roster. You know, so you'd have to do something. I just don't see. I don't see them making a move on Perez yet, unless they're convinced it's unfixable, and I don't see it being unfixable.
Yeah, I would probably agree, Stan. I want to move on real quick and ask about the Pittsburgh Pirates, because they're in a very similar situation to the Orioles. They're now 18-8. Brian Reynolds has been really good and just signed a contract extension a few weeks ago with them. Do you believe in what the Pittsburgh Pirates are doing, or is this just kind of an early season hot streak?
I don't watch them play that much, but I've observed that they're 16-8 too.
They're 18-8.
18-8. So they've got the second best record in baseball, correct?
Yep.
Right now, yeah. I think there's a little more going on there than just smoke and mirrors. That they just got off to a good start. I think that they've got some stuff going on there, and they got that kid. What's his J-A-E? Is he a Korean kid?
Oh, yes.
Guy?
Yes,
he seems like he's getting a lot of big hits. Of course, Reynolds is getting a lot of big hits. They just look like they have something going on there. I'm taken by every time I look up on the scoreboard, I see that they're not only leading, but they're getting well-pitched games as well.
Stan, are you thinking of Connor Joe?
Connor Joe, I think, is who you're thinking of.
No, it's not.
Not Connor Joe. Okay.
The other guy. It's a
guy Ji-Hwan Bae.
Bae.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
10 stolen bases.
Both he and Joe are getting a lot of big hits. Yeah.
Yeah, their lineup is doing a lot of things right now, and they're stealing a lot of bases too. They have 4 guys have 4 stolen bases.
I haven't watched a Pirates game from start to finish the whole year and haven't talked to anybody, but they've crept up and they're like number 13 in my power rankings right now. So it's been observed that they're pretty darn good. And I think, didn't they beat the Dodgers 2 out of 3 just this past week? Yeah,
it seems like they're beating everybody 2 out of 3, and their pitching staff, Stan, they're getting a lot of innings out of all their starters. Everybody except Rich Hill has an ERA below 4, and Rich Hill's 4.5, so he's getting you. I mean, if you stretch that out, that's 3 runs in 6 innings.
His first 2 or 3 outings, he was absolutely horrible, Hill, but he's pitched better. And they've got a guy right now that's on a roll as closing games, David Bednar.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing a sensational job right now. So good for the manager there, Craig Shelton. He got an extension, Brian Reynolds got an extension, so there's a little bit of a feel-good story brewing there in Pittsburgh. And while I never shed a tear when the Steelers lose, I'd like to see Pittsburgh have a much more representative baseball team because I love that park. It's a wonderful.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
It's gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Stan, before we let you go, Jackson Holliday got the promotion from Delmarva up to Aberdeen. He's been absolutely crushing it since he made his pro debut. In Delmarva, he was hitting 351 with 523 on base percentage, 667 slugging, and 1190 OPS in 51 plate appearances with a 14-12 walk to strikeout ratio. He goes to high A, hitless his first 2 games, and then triples and homers in his first 2 at-bats in his 3rd game. How special is Jackson Holliday, and has he surprised even you at this point?
Again, he's not a player I've seen a lot.
Sure.
But you just hear people talk about him and how special he is. And we had Creed Willem on Glenn's show yesterday, the catcher down at Delmarva.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, hey, I know we had you on to talk about you, but I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you how special is it watching this Jackson Holliday? And he said, it's just amazing, And I'm looking forward to heading out to Aberdeen and catch a couple games because he is certainly a special player. We've got the GM, Jack Graham, on Monday night, and we'll talk about some of the preparations and how long they think they'll have him there. The only thing negative about him coming to Aberdeen is you wonder, is it going to be for 2-3 months, or could it be like 4 or 5 weeks, and then all of a sudden he's up the buoy like that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, and it'll be
Sure
interesting.
doesn't look like he's going to spend a lot of time at any one place.
Yeah, he looks like a special talent. And then you heard he was on MLB Central yesterday morning, and just seems like a fantastic kid. On top of that, and he's talking about his brother Ethan, who's a sophomore in high school. He's 16 years old, and he's already got like 10 home runs. He said Ethan's the best player of the entire family, which is crazy to think about when you think about all the talent in that family.
Well, his father was one of my favorite players. I just loved watching him hit. It was always exciting to me to watch Matt Holliday hit. And Jackson's a different type of hitter, but he sure looks like he's going to be a very, very special player.
Yeah, it's super exciting that he's in the Orioles system. That's absolutely for sure. All right, Stan, you said you got Jack Graham coming up on Monday night. Anything else we can plug for you before we let you go today?
Thursday night, we've got T.J. Brightman and Jennifer Grandolph and the Orioles talking a little bit about how the club is, working in tandem with the playing team on the field, how they're working in tandem to start to get people out at the ballpark and what they're doing in the community and all the, behind the scenes stuff.
Oh, excellent. We'll look forward to that. And Stan, I might be catching a game myself out in Aberdeen this coming week. Maybe I will see you out there. All right.
All right. Sounds good.
Have a great week. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
See you. And that was Stan the Fan Charles, who continues to have 2 great shows for you every week. Every Monday night, Stan and former Orioles pitcher Ross Grimsley visit with a different guest from the world of baseball. And every Thursday night, Stan and Gary Stein chat with a different newsmaker from the world of sports. This week, Stan, Ross, and Luke Jackson had an Orioles powwow while Stan and Gary took the week off so that Glenn and Ken Zales could do a special NFL Draft reaction show. You can find these shows under the videos tab at facebook.com/PressBoxSports or PressBoxOnline.com/video. And again, Stan and Ross are back this Monday night for another great show with Aberdeen Ironbirds general manager Jack Graham. Zach, it is time for you to sound off.
Yeah, so the Cardinals did something this week that I don't think many people really agreed with, and I'm going to talk it. I'm going to talk the decision through. I want to talk about it from both sides because I can kind of see both sides of this decision, but I am firmly. I think I have pretty firm facts and ways to back it up on both sides. So I'm going to talk it through. They sent down Jordan Walker, a guy that they drafted just 3 years ago in the 2020 draft. He was picked in the first round as the 21st overall pick. So far this year, he made his major league debut, and he opened with the team on opening day. He had a hitting streak going for a while.
I think it was like 17 games.
It was long. He was hitting well. His batting average is 274. His on-base percentage a little lower at 321 than you would expect it to be. And his OPS plus was 101, so he's a 1% better hitter than the rest of guys in Major League Baseball. He was about an average hitter. He wasn't hitting for a ton of power, only had 2 home runs, and the extra base hits weren't really there either. It was mainly just singles and not incredibly hard hit balls, but the hitting streak stayed alive for a while. They sent him down this week, and I'm not exactly sure who the move was in favor of him, but Walker is 21 years old. He's a big righty, tons of power, and will develop, I think, one day into a really good Major League hitter. But the big problem is he struggled with defense, and his defensive WAR was negative .1 this year in relation to a positive offensive WAR. So there were some things going wrong with him on the defensive side of things. He can play third base. He can play the corner outfield spots. He was mainly playing right field this year. That's all he actually ever played, and they expect him to kind of move around a little bit as he gets older. But I think, and you see with the Orioles doing this with Gunnar Henderson, I think you got to let these guys who are 21 and 22 get up and figure it out. Gunnar Henderson has not been as good of a defender as we thought he was going to be so far. He's made some mistakes. He hasn't been sound there. And Jordan Walker has not been a sound defender either. And Jordan Walker...
He plays right field.
He plays right field, but he's going to... They want him to play third base. They want him to play the corner spots, too. I think he's just there as a matter of need because you do have, obviously, Nolan Arenado at third base. And Paul Goldschmidt at first base, too.
They're both Gold Glovers.
Yeah, right. So it's kind of hard to put him anywhere else. Right field is... Still, not to say it's not a taxing position, but it's not exactly the most difficult position in the world either. You expect him to be a little better than he probably has been out there. Again, the defensive metrics have not been good for him at all so far. And that's, I think, their basis of sending him down. And I get that, but I think you've got to let these 21-year-old guys, especially a guy like Jordan Walker that's probably going to be a superstar one day, sit up here and figure it out. It's not like the Cardinals have been good, and I don't necessarily think they're going to be better without him. I don't think you can give up a bat like that who has a 330 on base percentage and an OPS over 710. I'm not sure that's a smart decision for them. I don't think anybody they can replace him with is more valuable than letting this guy just sit up here and learn, get better defensively, get the bat going. And it's not even like the bat was that bad so far. I just don't see this from the Cardinals' perspective the way a lot of people have. I get you wanting to improve on defense. I can understand that. But I think there's a lot of reasons, too, that he should just stay up here and actually learn.
Yeah, I when you texted me this morning about him being sent down, I was shocked. I didn't hear that.
It hit a massive home run at AAA last night.
A massive home run at AAA last night. I was actually just looking at that.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't see who got called up to replace him.
Yeah, I'm going to try to figure that out.
But 274.
The numbers are not bad.
The numbers aren't bad. He's in a 7 for 35 slide, which is a 200 batting average.
That's baseball.
Gunnar Henderson's hitting 194.
Right.
You know, and Jordan Walker, he started the year with a 12-game hitting streak, and he's 3 weeks shy of his 21st birthday. He's 20 years old.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. To me, it's just like maybe they don't need him right now. And it's like, you know what? We want when he's here, when we do finally call him up for good, we want him to be like an impact bat. And so right now, let him become that impact bat, get a little more confidence. I can see that. I don't know, man. I would have kept him.
So Taylor Motter is the guy that's replaced him. Taylor Motter is a 33-year-old whose career batting average is 192. So I don't know. That's a place where I just don't get it.
Is he an outfielder?
Taylor Motter he can play everywhere. He's kind of a utility guy. He's infield, outfield. He's been around for a while, kind of just a utility man who's bounced around from Boston to Cincinnati to Colorado to Seattle to Minnesota and to Tampa. So he's been everywhere. This guy's been, he's well traveled. I don't get that decision. To me,
no. What? Wow.
Here's my big question for you. Why would you put a guy on an opening day roster if he's, if what he does is so bad that you're going to just send him down in April?
Well, because he was a monster in spring training. He's one of the top prospects in all of baseball. In some publications, he is the top prospect in all of baseball. And they thought, you know what? Let's give this kid a shot to see if he can be an impact bat immediately. And he hasn't been. He's been a decent bat. He hasn't been an impact bat. And maybe they feel like, hey, you know what? Let's send him down to AAA, let him absolutely mash for 3 weeks, and then bring him up so that he has that confidence. Because a lot of this, maybe he's pressing. Maybe what they're seeing from him is somebody who's lost a little bit of confidence because he was getting the hits, but the power wasn't there, and he's probably used to having that kind of power. Let's send him down. He mashes a home run, his first game down to AAA. Let's let him get his feet under him a little bit, get back to hitting the ball hard consistently, and then we'll bring him up when he has more confidence because he knows we believe in him. That's why we put him on the opening day roster. We know he can hit. He opened the season with a 12-game hitting streak. Once he starts hitting for more power, let's bring him back up for good.
I think if this is a defensive issue purely.
Not to mention, I'm not defending the move. I think they should have kept it.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. But if this is a purely defensive issue where they're saying the defense is not good enough, you would have thought they would have seen that in spring training. He played a lot in spring training. So if you would have had to say, okay, this is a defensive move only, and we think that there are 3 guys out there who are better than him, and maybe they think Taylor Motter is a better defender than him. That doesn't make any sense to me. That's something they should have seen in spring training and said, okay, he needs 1 month in AAA at least to figure out these defensive things, and then we'll bring him back up and let's see what he's going to do at the major league level. That to me is the questionable part of this.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you have expected this?
Yeah, and I don't understand why you can't just play. I mean, I get that Nolan Gorman's an infielder. Why can't you just put Nolan Gorman down in right field and let Walker DH? I mean, if Taron,
I was going to say there's a DH in the NL now.
If Taron, because Nolan Gorman's getting the majority of bats at DH, if Taron Vavra and if Taron Vavra and Adam Frazier can play left field and right field, there's no reason Nolan Gorman can't.
Yeah, I mean, and one of the other guys they have up and playing left field every day is Alec Burleson, and Alec Burleson's on-base percentage is .280.
Yeah.
And he's another guy they expect to be good one day. I mean, he's only 24 years old, and I think they expect some good things out of him. But still.
But at 24, maybe he's had more of an opportunity
to
fair. Prove himself at AAA than Jordan Walker has.
Burleson last year was a 188, 264, 271 hitter at the major league level.
How many games did he get?
He got only 48 at-bats, 53 plate appearances. At AAA last year, he hit 331 with 20 home runs. So he had really good numbers. And
he's got nothing left to prove at AAA.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair argument. And maybe he's a better defender than Jordan Walker.
I mean, Jordan Walker, that was his first ever home run at AAA, which means he didn't get much time, if any. Actually, he got no time at AAA. He made the move from AA.
Straight up, yeah.
Exactly. So they're probably sending him down saying, you know what, prove to us that you're the guy we think you are at AAA, and you won't be down there long.
Yeah.
I anticipate that he has to stay down for 15 days unless, I believe it's 15 days unless there's an injury. Yeah. I find it hard to believe he'll be down there much longer than that.
Yeah, all right, fair enough.
But look, we got to catch our first break. Want to remind you that today's show is brought to you by the latest edition of Press Box, which is available now. On the cover, Luke Jackson looks at the pipeline of talent still to come for the Orioles, diving in on last year's #1 pick, Jackson Holliday, and other top prospects like Colton Cowser, Heston Kjerstad, Kobe Mayo, and more. Also inside, Todd Karpovich profiles Orioles pitcher Kyle Gibson, and Bo Smolka breaks down what progress would mean for the team's 2022 draft picks in their second pro season. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farms stores. And you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com. Got to catch a break. When we come back, the payoff pitch around the league. That's next on the Bat Around.
Hartford Community College in Bel Air, Maryland, along with the National Junior College Athletic Association's Region 20, will host the 2023 NJCAA Men's Lacrosse National Championship May 13th and 14th at Hartford Sports Complex, 401 Thomas Run Road in Bel Air. Semifinals are on Saturday, May 13th. The National Championship is Sunday, May 14th. Catch the action for $10 each day. Tickets will be available in advance or at the gate on game day. Qualifying teams will be announced.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Luke Jackson looks at the pipeline of talent still to come for the Orioles, diving in on last year's #1 pick, Jackson Holliday, and other top prospects like Colton Cowser, Heston Kjerstad, Kobe Mayo, and more. Also inside, Todd Karpovich profiles Orioles pitcher Kyle Gibson, and Bo Smolka breaks down what progress would mean for the team's 2022 draft picks in their second pro season. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farms Farms stores, and you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
What air conditioning company can save 50% of your energy cost and qualify you for up to $7,500 in rebates? A.J. Michaels. We do more, we do it better for less. In Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Costas Inn has been serving up delicious steamed crabs for over 50 years. Lately, the crabs you want to eat when the weather warms up have gotten harder and harder to get. So get your crab eating game plan in place. Make sure to stick this number on your fridge, 410-477-1975. Call ahead and reserve the size crabs you want. You may be able to walk in, but you may also be disappointed at the size or maybe even get shut out altogether. So call ahead, have a plan, and then arrive on your crab eating vacation. Costas also has delicious crab soup and crab cakes. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard. For more than 50 years, they've been satisfying crab lovers in and around Baltimore.
Welcome back to the Bat Around. Oh, say, have you seen all of Maryland's minor league baseball parks? PressBox is giving you the chance to check out all of them this summer. Head over to PressBoxOnline.com/contest now and sign up to win 4 tickets to each of the local minor league baseball teams. 1 Easy Pass Maryland on-the-go transponder preloaded with $25. He's a transponster. That's not even a word. And $50 gas card from Royal Farms to help you get around. That was a Friends reference.
Oh, I know.
Must be 18 or older to enter, and the sweepstakes end June 14th. So get over to PressBoxOnline.com/contest right now to sign up. He's a transponder.
Yeah, that's when they're playing that game, and they ask what Chandler's job is, and Monica or Rachel says he's a transponder, and Monica yells at him.
Something with transponder. Oh, I know. He's a transponder. That's not even a word.
Yep. By the way, I'm surprised you hit that last note, and Osei, can you see?
Yeah,
you hit it. Yeah, I got to give you that.
Not.
He was singing in the car the whole way here.
Yeah. I've been told I'm the songbird of this generation.
Oh yeah.
So
that's another movie reference. Yes. Will Ferrell, right?
Yep. By myself. I've told myself that.
Yeah.
No, I can carry it.
Laura doesn't like your singing.
Laura doesn't hate my singing. She lets me sing in the car when we're in the car together, and she doesn't complain about it. And every single time without fail, I say, "I'm sorry if I'm ruining the songs for you." She goes, "I don't care that you're singing." So as long as I'm not talking to her, I think she's okay.
That stupid Dear Maria Count Me In song, you listen to that one, singing that song.
Zach said the All-Time Low is like Green Day, but worse.
It's bad. Bad Green Day.
They sound nothing alike.
Oh, I disagree with that. Totally, wholeheartedly. It's that very 90s, early 2000s sound. All those bands sound the same. But Green Day I do like.
First of all, I hate Green Day now.
What?
I hate Green Day. Dookie?
How?
Awesome album. Awesome album. Ever since American Idiot, I can't stand Green Day, and I think that their lead singer, what's his name, Billy Joe?
He's kind of weird.
He is so freaking full of himself. He is so full of himself.
I'm not okay. They're not Bruce Springsteen.
And they haven't put out a good song in 15 years.
Okay, I don't disagree with that.
They haven't put it now.
Everything I like from Green Day is early 2000s.
All Time Low. I like All Time Low. They're one of my new favorite bands.
And from Towson.
They're from Towson. They went to Delaney Valley High School, where all my cousins went. But my cousins, my mom's sister's kids. They all went to Delaney High School.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a special connection there for me. And all of All Time Low's new stuff, I think, is absolutely fantastic. Their stuff when they first came out in 2003 through 2009-ish, some of it I can take, some of it I can't. I like Dear Maria Count Me In. Took a while.
So does Ryan Mountcastle.
It took a while for that to grow on me. Some of their other songs, it's very much that emo sound from the early to mid 2000s.
Yep.
So I can understand that. Their new stuff is fantastic. It sounds nothing like Green Day.
It's almost like their new stuff sounds like a mix of Green Day and Imagine Dragons. That's what I got out of that.
That is so awful. like they're friends with Glenn Clark.
Interesting.
Like they're friends with Glenn Clark. And you're gonna cause them not to want to come back here making that stupid comparison. They're like
I don't think all time.
They're like Imagine Dragons, who everybody thinks is one of the douchiest bands out there, and Green Day, who's been one of the douchiest bands for 20 years.
I don't think All Time Low is listening to the show right now.
They might be. They're from here. They might be baseball fans. Don't
Maybe.
discount the bat around. Yeah, we almost got Adam Jones on the show today.
We almost did.
Almost.
What's the progress on that, by the way?
He ghosted me.
Oh.
Nah, it's okay. He's a busy guy. He's got his own podcast going on. He's Adam freaking Jones.
We should just have Jerry Coleman on the other side.
At some point, I know Adam will get back to me. We were speaking the other day. He said he was going to check his Saturday schedule, and then I didn't hear back from him. That's okay. That's happened plenty of times in the past. It happened with Orestes Destrade a few times. He's been on the show like 12 times.
Yep.
All right, so I'm not concerned about it. When Adam Jones is able to come on the show, he will. I have no gripes about it. These things happen with Ben McDonald. We always talk with Ben for like 40 minutes, and there's been a couple times where I haven't heard back from him. It's fine. They're busy people, and I'm sure we're not at the top of their priority list.
Yeah.
So no issues there with Adam Jones. We tried to get him on the show today to no avail. I'm sure we will in the coming weeks for sure. And with that in mind, it is time for the payoff pitch around the league.
Very beautifully said.
Max Kepler, Jorge Polanco, and Jose Miranda each homered, and former Oriole Jorge Lopez, who has yet to allow a run in 12 games this season, picked up just his second save as the Twins overtook the Royals 8-6. Former Oriole Jordan Lyles allowed 7 runs in 4 innings in the loss, dropping him to 0-5 with a 6.11 ERA. Gene Segura drove in 2 runs, including the game winner on a walk-off single in the 9th, and Jesus Luzardo allowed 2 runs over 6 in the 3rd strong innings to lead the Marlins past the Cubs 3-2. Alek Manoah and Luis Castillo squared off in the pitcher's duel, but each lasted just 5 innings, allowing 2 runs, and then it became a battle of the bullpens, and the Jays was incredible, allowing no base runners and striking out 8 over 4 perfect innings, and George Springer secured the needed offense with a the needed offense with a run-scoring single in the 6th to put the Jays on top for good over the Mariners 3-2. The bottom 3 hitters for Cleveland each tallied an RBI, while Shane Bieber allowed 2 runs in 7 innings as the Guardians stopped the Red Sox 5-2. You remember the episode of The Office? Do you watch The Office?
Oh, I've seen every episode probably 30 times.
Who's Justice Beaver?
Yeah.
Well, a crime-fighting beaver. That's what made me laugh when I said Shane Bieber. Isaac Paredes and Manuel Margot combined for 6 hits and 2 RBIs to back up Zach Eflin's 2-run, 5-inning performance in the Rays' 3-2 victory over the White Sox. Matt Olson hit a 3-run homer in the Braves' 4-run 5th, and Max Fried struck out 7 in a rain-shortened 5-inning complete game 4-0 shutout of the Mets. Robbie Grossman homered and doubled twice, driving in 2 to lead the Rangers past the Yankees 5-2, but the big story is Jacob deGrom, who left his start in the 4th inning with forearm tightness as the oft-injured ace has apparently suffered another setback. Kyle Schwarber homered and Aaron Nola dominated, allowing 1 run in 8 strong innings as the Phillies dropped the Astros 3-1. Willie Adames homered, and Wade Miley was strong once again in the most disgusting performance of the year so far, with 6 innings of 1-run ball as the Brewers kept on winning, defeating the Angels 2-1.
Willie Adames, you say?
And I say disgusting because Willie Adames homered, and Wade freaking Miley still looks like Cy Young.
Your vendetta against
I hate
Willie Adames makes no sense to me, but
because he's good, he's not great. He's a .230 hitter who hit 30 home runs last year, and he's like the guy who somehow puts the Brewers over the freaking top offensively. He is a mediocre offensive baseball player, but for some reason, he is the catalyst for them playing good baseball for the last 3 years. It makes no effing sense to me. And Wade Miley can go get aft. He pitches for Baltimore for a season and a half, and he was the worst pitcher in baseball. And ever since he left here, he's freaking Cy Young. Go to hell, Wade Miley.
Well, hopefully Wade Miley is listening to the batter up.
Wade Miley can listen, come on the show, and I'll say it to his face, that piece of garbage. Anyway.
Wow.
The Diamondbacks scored 3 in the 7th and 5 in the 9th to turn a 1-1 tie into a 9-1 drubbing of the Rockies. Ketel Marte homered, and Christian Walker doubled and drove in 2 in the victory. Spencer Steer went 0 for 6, and every other Reds player had at least 2 hits as Cincinnati outslugged Oakland 11-7. And finally, Freddie Freeman had 3 hits, and Mookie Betts homered as the Dodgers topped the head-scratching Cards 7-3. Orioles, Tigers, and Nationals, Pirates were each rained out. Both games will be made up in doubleheaders today. Zach, what's on tap?
Yeah, I think Willie Adames and Wade Miley are living rent-free in your head, Paul. It's an unfortunate situation.
They're not living rent-free. I don't think about them until I see them perform well. Willie Adames, I don't even have anything against him. It's the Brewers franchise.
Interesting.
How are you so poverty-stricken that you don't want to spend any kind of money? Like, You underpaid Christian Yelich, and then he fell off a cliff, so you look like geniuses. But you weren't geniuses. You underpaid him for some reason. He took the contract because he was getting older and didn't want to have to try and argue his way into good money. But Willy Adames is, to me, a mediocre. He's freaking Renato Nunez, but a better defender, right? Offensively, he's Renato Nunez, and somehow, that's the guy that made the Brewers say, oh, we got something now. Let's play hard baseball. And then Wade Miley, you get traded to the Orioles. You suck. Then the next year, you suck again. And then you've been one of the top 10 pitchers in all of baseball for 7 years since you left here. F you, Wade Miley. Why couldn't you do that in Baltimore? I get it that maybe the Orioles pitching coaches weren't great and maybe they didn't give you the best opportunity to put your best foot forward analytically, but there's something more to it that you can go out there and dominate for every team you've ever pitched for except for the Orioles. Same thing about Rich Hill. Same thing with Rich Hill.
You know, I don't think it was Wade Miley's decision to be bad in Baltimore. I think he just was.
I don't think he cared. That sloppy-looking piece of garbage.
Oh, my gosh. All right, moving on. The Orioles will start off today's games list against the Tigers, Dean Kramer and Eduardo Rodriguez, who has been pretty good this year. 2.3 ERA for him, 12-10 in Detroit.
Took a perfect game into the 7th inning against the Orioles.
Yeah.
Into the 8th inning, I think.
Game 1 of a doubleheader. Rich Hill, who we just mentioned, will start for the Pirates at Nationals Park today against Patrick Corbin, two vet lefties, Pirates and Nats. Royals and Twins, Brad Keller against Bailey Ober, 2.10 at Target Field. Chris Flexen, 8.86 ERA, needs to get going against Kevin Gausman today, 3.07 at the Rogers Center as the Mariners take on the Blue Jays. Spencer Strider, he's excellent against Tyler McGill at 4.05 at Citi Field, the Braves and the Mets. Cubs take on the Marlins, 4.05 in Miami. Caleb Killen against Edward Cabrera. Hunter Green takes on Kyle Muller, 4.07 at the O.co. That's the Reds against the A's. The Guardians take on the Red Sox, Zach Plesac and Brian Bello, 4.10 in Boston. Grayson Rodriguez starts Game 2 of the Orioles doubleheader. It's slated for 5:10, but it probably will happen before that. Matthew Boyd will start for Detroit as the Orioles take them on in Game 2. Zach Wheeler and Christian Javier, Phillies and Astros, 5:10 at Minute Maid Park. And then Game 2 of that Nationals doubleheader against the Pirates, Vince Velasquez and Chad Kuhl. Again, listed at 6:05, but probably will go off a little bit before that. Sean Manaea and Joe Musgrove, 6:05 at Estadio Alfredo Harpula. Is what's listed on this website, which I don't really know what that means, but it is in San Diego as the Giants take on the Padres. They're actually playing in Mexico City today, so I'm guessing that's the stadium, but they're playing in Mexico City. The Yankees and the Rangers, Yanni Brito against Nathan Eovaldi, 7:05 in Texas. Colin Foucher takes on Lance Lynn for the Rays and the White Sox, 7:10 at Guaranteed Rate Field. Angels and Brewers, Reed Detmers against Corbin Burns, 7:10 in Milwaukee. And then the final two games of the night, 8:10 at Coors Field, is Tommy Henry and Noah Davis as the D-backs take on the Rockies. And then finally, the Jordan Walker-less Cardinals start Jordan Montgomery against Clayton Kershaw and the Dodgers, 9:10 at Dodger Stadium.
Rich Hill.
Oh, boy.
I'm
going to mute my mic and let you go off.
Rich Hill, in his one season in Baltimore, 14 games, 13 starts, 3-3, 7.80 ERA. Everywhere else, Boston for 5 years, 3.31. Dodgers for 4 years, 3.16. Cubs for 4 years, 4.37. Minnesota for 1 season, 3.03. New York Mets for 1 year, 3.84. Tampa Bay Rays for 1 year, 3.87. Pittsburgh for 1 year, 4.50. Oakland for 1 year, 2.25. Cleveland 1 year, he was in the bullpen, and he had 6.28. L.A. Angels 1 year, his ERA was infinity. He had 2 games. He had 0 innings pitched. He had 1 hit, 1 run, 3 walks allowed. With the Yankees, 1 year coming out of the bullpen, 1.69 ERA. By far and away, his worst performance, the Baltimore Orioles. Wade Miley, 2 years in Baltimore, 10-20 in 43 starts, 5.75 ERA. Arizona, 4 years. 3.79. Cincinnati, 2 years, 3.55. Milwaukee, 2 years, 2.38. Boston, 1 year, 4.46. Chicago Cubs, 1 year, 3.16. Seattle Mariners, 1 year, 4.98. Houston, 1 year, 3.98. By far and away, the worst seasons of these two guys' careers were in Baltimore. Not even close anywhere else. Not even. These guys are good pitchers everywhere but Baltimore. Why here? Why do you suck
Well,
here?
keep in mind the dimensions of Camden Yards it used to be.
Good point. That's a good point. But you would think that every now and again you'd have a game where you went like 8 innings, giving up 2 hits and no runs. They couldn't even do that. They didn't even have like Chris Tillman. You remember how bad Chris Tillman was?
Very.
In 2018?
He was very bad.
He had one start against the Detroit Tigers where we went 7 innings and allowed 1 hit.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't even do that once or twice in their short time here. They were the worst pitchers in baseball when they pitched for the Orioles. Jeremy Hellickson, the same damn thing. Jeremy Hellickson, same damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. You're not trying to be bad, but you were. You were. Sid Fernandez, same damn thing. Was awesome. Doug Drabeck, same damn thing. Awesome. They come to Baltimore. They suck. Now, the trend is flipping because Jordan Lyles was pretty damn good for the Orioles last year.
Yep.
And this year, he's been freaking awful for the Royals.
And you saw with Alex Cobb even a little bit where he hasn't been very good for the Giants for the most part. Really not that much different.
He's been really good for the Giants.
I don't think he's been that much different than he was his final year in Baltimore. His first few years in Baltimore were not very kind to him. But the final year in Baltimore, I don't think he's been that much different than what he was with San Francisco.
Well, yeah, his final year in Baltimore, he was their best starter, especially down the stretch.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think he's drastically improved on that with San Francisco.
Well, no, he has.
Has he? Okay.
Last year in 28 starts, he went 7-8 with a 3.73 ERA, and this year in 5 starts,
he's been really good this year.
He's 1-1 with a 1.91 ERA. In 2021 with the Angels, 18 starts, 3.76. His best year in Baltimore was 2020. He had 10 starts and he had a 4.30 ERA.
Yeah, his ERA plus was 109, and his ERA plus last year was 109. So I don't necessarily think there's a drastic difference.
In Baltimore, in 3 years, another one. 3 years in Baltimore, 5.10 ERA. 6 years in Tampa Bay, 3.5. 2 years in San Francisco, 3.44. 1 year in LA, 3.76. Now,
I'll throw you another one just for fun. Andrew Kashner went from Baltimore to Boston in 2019, went from a 3.83 ERA to a 6.20 ERA.
Yeah, but look at Andrew Kashner before he got to Baltimore.
Yeah, Texas year was really good in 17, 3.4 ERA.
He was really good with the Brewers, too. Was it the Brewers? Or
no, he was with the Padres. Yeah.
He had a couple really good years with the Padres. And look, he was really good with the Orioles in 2019. I get that. He's not in the league anymore. The Orioles are really good. I'm not hating on what the Orioles are doing right now. It just blows my mind how many guys have been good before they got to the Orioles, were terrible with the Orioles, and then good again after they left the Orioles.
Well, I think that's a big sign of how everything has just changed, how things have completely flipped around for the Orioles with player development and what they've done, especially with the coaching staffs. I think have gotten just drastically better. Not to speak to Brandon Hyde specifically, but I think you look at Chris Holt and the new hitting coaches they have there, the pair of them, the bullpen coaches they have. Everything has gotten better. And really the coaches across the board, too, at Aberdeen and at Bowie and at Norfolk and all these places have just gotten better. And the whole organization has been overhauled and gotten better at player development as a whole. So I think that's a product of what you're seeing right now, and not necessarily what Andrew Kashner did in 2019, but more of what you're seeing now with guys like Jordan Lyles, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
You got that out of you? You good now?
I had to, man. This stuff just irritates me to no end.
We should invite Willie Adames on the show.
I don't hate Willie Adames. I really don't. He's a good defender. He's got a power bat. I just don't think that he's the guy that is just so good that he completely turns a franchise around. Well, you didn't. I did. I did because he homered and Wade Miley threw 6 innings of 1-run ball.
I mean, right now,
in a Brewers victory.
Willie Adames is a 360 on base percentage, and his OPS plus is 124, so 24% better. It is.
It's April 29th.
It is, but we're
when he's hitting 234 in August.
Yeah, but we're commending a lot of Orioles for doing the same thing. So
no, we're not. In fact, Orioles fans is not going to commend.
We just talked about Cedric Mullins though, and he has very, very similar numbers. We talked about in the beginning of the show Cedric Mullins being. So far off to a pretty good start.
Sometimes I think you just say things because Cedric Mullins right now is slashing 267, 377, 456, 833, and he has 10 stolen bases.
Yeah.
Willie Adames does not have an 833 OPS.
No, he doesn't, but he has an 809 OPS. And he's a 24% better hitter than Major League average, according to OPS Plus.
And Cedric Mullins is a 33% better.
That's not that okay, all right.
It's 9%
I'm not sure
better.
I get your point here, but
it's 9% better.
My point is that Willie Adames is better than you're giving him credit for. That's all I'm going to say.
I don't think he's a terrible player. I don't think he should ever be a guy who's the difference maker on your team. I mean, the Brewers, when they got him in 2021, they went from having one of the worst records in the National League to being having the best record in baseball the rest of the year. And they've been a playoff team each year that he's been there. How is he the difference maker? How are you getting away with this?
I don't know. I don't know how to
I
answer
feel like
that
Jesse
question.
Pinkman right now. How do they keep getting away with this?
Yeah.
I don't understand
Well,
it. And like,
I don't know what to tell you. I mean, that's just what the Brewers are doing, and it's working for them. And the pitching has always been quite good for Milwaukee.
yeah, that's true. That's really how they keep. But Wade Miley's part of that equation.
He is, but so is Corbin Burns, Freddie Peralta.
Corbin Burns hasn't been very good this year.
So far, no, but he will get it going.
Yeah.
I guarantee you by the end of the year,
Yeah,
Corbin Burns
Brendan
will.
Woodruff. Their pitching's really good, but somehow, some way, man, they're like they're just always there.
But
and I think that their ownership is like the National League Central outside of the Cardinals and the Cubs. Like, what are they doing?
Mm-hmm.
What are they doing? Like, I feel so bad for, and this is coming from an Orioles fan who's watched his team be terrible more often than not in his lifetime. Maybe that's why it like hurts my heart so much, and I get so angry about this stuff because like you're this close to being a phenomenal team, and your ownership just won't spend the money.
Mm-hmm.
They just won't spend the money. Now Pittsburgh, they're off to an 18-8 start this year. The Brewers are something. They're right there, aren't they?
The Brewers so far are 17-9.
Yeah, so they're a game back, despite how good Pittsburgh's been
Mm-hmm.
doing, and yet and the Cincinnati, they're 2 games below 500. Something like that.
Probably.
Yeah. They're not that far.
They've been
off.
better than I've expected them to be.
Well, they got off to like a 1-22 start last year.
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
and
they couldn't. Joey Votto couldn't like buy a hit, and nobody on that team could buy a hit at that point.
Joey Votto's in the
rough.
same category. I mean, he's 2 years removed from a 40-homer season.
He is.
But Joey Votto, I put in the same category now as Miguel Cabrera, and Votto's hurt right now, isn't he? He hasn't played yet.
So yeah, he hasn't played yet. Last year only hit 205, so a massive drop off from the 266 the year before.
And he hit 40 home runs, right?
36.
36, close enough.
And a 938 OPS. He was really good.
Yeah, he was really good. But I think that was like his last hurrah. He's going to retire at the end of the year. So is Miguel Cabrera. I put them in the same.
I'll still take Votto over Cabrera, honestly. Cabrera is just dead weight in that lineup.
Yeah,
he
Votto
is...
can at least still play good defense at first base.
Right.
And he's not far removed from a really, really good season, whereas Cabrera's last good season was, 2016?
I mean, to give Cabrera a little bit of credit, he did hit 254 last year, which is better than I would have thought, but his on-base percentage was only 305, and he struck out a lot.
This is a guy who, despite how bad he's been the last 3 or 4 years, his career batting average is 308.
Yeah, it's and on-base percentage 383 career is really good.
Imagine
really good.
how good it was before the 2017. What was his batting average in 2017?
17, he was 249.
18.
18 was 299.
20.
20.
I mean 19.
19 was 282.
Okay, so 17 he kind of fell off.
Yeah, a little bit.
But then 2018, 2019 he was good. But since 2020 he hasn't been very good. Right?
Really, since 16, he hasn't had the power numbers either. In 16, he hit 38 home runs with a 316 batting average and a 393 OBP. So he was really good.
Yeah.
And by the way, I just learned, if we're talking about statistics at the moment, I just learned apparently a few days ago that Chris Sale is the all-time strikeouts per 9 leader.
Yeah.
Did not know that.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
I heard that the other day too.
Yeah, someone said, I think, I guess it was Ben McDonald might have said that, or someone along the lines of Orioles.
Yeah, it may have been Kevin Brown. Kevin
Brown, sure.
I do think I remember it being Ben McDonald. It was he. I can't speak today. It was in the process of him not striking out anybody in a healthy start for the first time in his career. The only other start where he didn't strike out a batter, he went an inning in the third and left with an injury.
Yeah.
To the point where Alex Cora thought he was either tipping pitches or the Orioles knew what he was going to throw.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's when I heard it too, that he was the all-time strikeout leader per 9.
That's crazy. I looked up Nolan Ryan. He was a whole, I think, like 2 strikeouts behind per 9, and other guys like Pedro Martinez and some of the other great all-time pitchers. And Chris Sale is really, really good in that category.
I'd like to see where Nolan Ryan's strikeouts per 9 numbers were before he was pitching in his 40s.
Okay.
You know,
that's
he
good.
was still
that's
a
a good
big-time
point.
strikeout pitcher, but the guy pitched till he was 46
All-time
years
strikeout
old.
leader is Nolan Ryan.
Yeah, he pitched till he was 46 years old. In fact, we can go back in and we can look at it while we're talking about it.
By the way, I just received a text from Stan. He said that just noted that DL Hall is added, obviously, today as the 27th player for the doubleheader. So I guess he wanted to talk about that, but we didn't get a chance to talk about it. So.
Oh, well, I didn't realize that.
Oh, yeah. He was slated to start last night and then didn't. And now today probably will be used in relief, I'm guessing. And maybe they piggyback him with Grayson Rodriguez and those two guys just go. And that would be probably a pretty – or if Dean Kramer blows up and he doesn't get much out of tonight.
The two guys that they have going today want to keep that bullpen rested. You can see DL Hall getting a piggyback. And, man, I hope he goes out there and shows something. He's been up and down at AAA. He's had 2 good starts, 2 bad starts down there. I was wondering why he didn't start. Like, he was supposed to start on Thursday, and they got washed out. And then he didn't start yesterday, and he's not slated to start today. So I was a little confused as to why, and that makes sense. I was like, he's either hurt or maybe the Orioles brought him up. Why would they bring him up? And it makes sense. So they get the 27th man, and he Nolan Ryan pitched in 6, 7, 8, 9. He pitched in 4 different decades.
It's unreal. Yeah.
Another guy who, big-time arm, walked a ton of batters early in his career, but they didn't give up on him, and he became the all-time strikeout leader and a Hall of Famer, who holds like 56 major league records, a lot of really good records and some really bad records. But Nolan Ryan led the majors in strikeouts at age 40, 41, 42, and 43, and then at age 44, he still struck out 203. Man, he was good.
Yeah.
Man, he was good. His worst season was his last season when he went 488 in 13 starts. Man, he was good. He also led them. Oh my goodness. Listen to this. He also led the league in walks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times.
Yeah.
Listen to these.
But to me,
listen to these walk numbers real quick. 1972, 157 walks. 73, 162. 74, 202. 76, 183. 77, 204. 78, 148. That is a lot of walks. And they didn't give a damn. You know he never won a Cy Young?
Yeah, I did know that. And that's unbelievable. But again, he walked a lot of guys, so I guess it was kind of hard. But his numbers are incredible. To me, it's Pedro Martinez at 1 and Nolan Ryan at 2. And then everyone else behind them.
I don't know, man. You're leaving out some guys from before.
I mean, Randy Johnson, I guess, Cy Young, I guess, has got to be in that conversation. Walter Johnson, sure. Maybe not Bob Feller, but there's a lot of guys you could talk about in that conversation.
Nolan Ryan, in his career, he allowed 324 and 292, 3.19 ERA, an all-time major league record, 2,795 walks. All-time major league record, 5,714 strikeouts, and a major league low for a career, 6.6 hits per 9. He led the majors in hits per 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 times, including his age 42 through 44 seasons.
Incredible.
At the age of 44, he allowed 5.3 hits per 9 and had a whip of 1.006.
Yeah.
At 44 years old with a 2.91 ERA.
I want to find something out. For my final thought today, I'm going to give you a quick trivia question of all guys that play in 4 decades, because I was just thinking about that and looking up some guys.
There's no way I'm going to be able to do that.
Oh, I think you can get some. I mean, there's one really obvious one outside of Nolan Ryan.
Yeah.
But I'll see how many you can get. I'm just going to be interested to look this up and find out.
Huh.
But there's a lot of Hall of Famers. It's got to be, some of the greats of all time. I think you should be able to get some of them. But I'm going to try to figure that out and see where we're at.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do that. Let's talk a little bit of Orioles banter here because we only have a few minutes. And that's good because this isn't going to take a lot of time. So Orioles banter today, we're looking back at the offseason. And what did we think the Orioles should have done in the offseason, what they did do, and how it's turned out so far? So you and I think we were – what was your big – I'll tell you my big offensive want, my big offseason want was a bat for the middle of the order.
Yeah, same.
And that was yours.
Yeah.
They didn't do that.
Right.
And then we thought pitching should be number 2. Kyle Gibson was their lone and they traded for Cole Irvin, who after 4 starts got optioned to AAA. He's going today for Norfolk, by the way. But so let's look at what the Orioles did, what they didn't do, and how it's turned out so far. Offensively, I'll tell you right now, I wanted the bat for the middle of the order because I think you're doing your team a disservice to bat Santander 3 and Mountcastle 4. I really think you're doing your team a disservice.
Mountcastle right now is just not a middle of the order hitter. He's not.
Neither is Santander.
250 OBP. I don't know what Santander's is, but I'm guessing 280, 290, something along those lines.
No, it's not even close.
Wow. Lower?
I believe that it is. Let me actually, I just pulled up the team stats. Anthony Santander, 207, 273, 356, 629, and he hits third or fourth every single day. He's batting fourth today because he homered last night, so of course he's going to bat fourth.
Naturally.
Yeah, I remember Arias and McCann doubled and homered in a game, and the next day they were batting 4-5 in the Orioles lineup. But again, I don't have an issue with Brandon Hyde going with a hot hand in the middle of the order. I like that Arias is hitting third today, and then Mateo's hitting fifth. You got to have somebody bat fourth. And I have in my notes, because we have Bob Phelan from the On The Verge podcast coming up here in just a second. Where did I put this? I had the stats. Did I put them in stands and I just didn't talk about it? Oh, the O's. Did they miss the boat not adding a middle of the order bat? Anthony Santander and Ryan Mountcastle, again, they're routinely batting 3-4 in the order. They are a combined 42 for 193. 8 home runs, 31 RBIs, 13 walks to 52 strikeouts. That's a 1 walk for every 4 strikeouts ratio. Combined, in the 3-4 hole, they're slashing, on the season, but that's where they routinely bat. They're slashing 218, 262 combined. Ryan Mountcastle has 4 walks on the season. Santander has 9. And they both have played just about every day.
Yeah.
We wanted a middle of the order bat, an impact bat. Now look, Jose Abreu isn't having a great year.
April. Yeah,
but it's April. He's having a better year than both of them as far as getting on base and hitting. J.D. Martinez, I think could have been let's look at. Oh, okay. Jose Abreu doesn't have any home runs, and he has 11 RBIs. He's got a 277 on base percentage. So maybe the Orioles knew something that we didn't. I wouldn't have minded J.D. Martinez. There weren't really many bats out there. It was like
Justin Turner has been. He was another one Stan really liked and kept mentioning. I don't know where he's at, but I know back when the Orioles were playing the Red Sox a few series ago, he was having some success to a degree. So he's another one. But, yeah, there wasn't really many options out there unless you looked at Aaron Judge.
J.D. Martinez has 9 doubles, 4 home runs, 15 RBIs. He's slashing 250, 306, 534. So he's got an 840
That's still pretty good.
OPS and a 123 OPS plus. He's having a decent year. And, again, it's still April, and he's been a productive hitter. I get it. The Dodgers gave him, $11 million? I don't think the Orioles were willing to give him $11 million.
Yeah.
But you have to have somebody that strikes fear in the opposition. And Ryan Mountcastle, I still believe, can be that guy. And to his credit, he's on a 6-game hitting streak right now, though his .333 batting average and his, like a 343 on base percentage because he had the 1 walk the other day. He, this is the best first month of his career, if you exclude 2020, and I think we should exclude that. Because
we should.
This is the best first season of a full 162-game schedule of his career, the best first month. So he's probably going to get better, and as the weather warms up fully and stays warm, I think he's going to put up some better numbers. But he's just so aggressive in that. In the middle of the order, he's swinging at the first pitch a lot. He's not 4 walks on the year, and his one on Thursday was his first in 3 weeks, and only his second since opening. He walked twice on opening day, and he's walked twice since. They're 25 games in. In 24 games, he's walked twice. They missed the boat on adding an impact bat, and now you look at, could they trade for one? Well, realistically, there's going to be 20 teams plus in play who think that they can realistically make the postseason at the deadline, right? When you consider the fact that you have 6 teams from each division. From each league, from the American League and from the National League. So you got to have 12 teams that are going to make the playoffs, and you have probably at least another 8 teams who are going to be right around the 500 mark who are going to think, hey, we can make the playoffs if we add. So you're going to have to fight with 19, 20 other teams to get a middle of the order bat. And to get a frontline starting pitcher if that's the route you think you need to go to, and maybe they will. Who could they possibly add at this point?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a great question. You look at, again, the free agent class of hitters this year was just not that good. And Abreu was a guy. Jock Peterson was someone a lot of people wanted. He's off to a pretty good start so far. I don't really see that lasting. He's never really hit for average or gotten on base at a level that would have been worth the money that I think he got. So I don't know. You look at trade options, I'm not sure who would be out there. It'd have to be a vet. You would think it would be probably one of the more unathletic guys who probably is a first baseman, corner outfield type. That's the kind of guy you're going to get at the trade deadline. That's the guys that are usually traded because premium players don't really go up in the trade block that much. So it's going to be a guy who really solely hits and isn't really much of a defender value-wise. So I don't know. It's a good question, but I'm not sure who the realistic options would be.
Yeah,
It'd have to be a trade with a bad team.
And maybe the Giants are a team. Maybe Jock Peterson is that guy. Jock Peterson has a lot of postseason experience.
Yeah.
He's played in.
They're not taking on that contract. I don't think, though.
3, 4. He only signed for a year.
Yeah, but it's $20 million. I don't know if I see.
But by the time they trade for him, they only got to pay him the last 2 months of the year.
That's true.
Right. I didn't want Jock Peterson. I didn't want him, but he's played in 4 World Series. He's got 79 postseason games under his belt and 12 postseason home runs in those 79 games. If he's having a good year, the Giants are out of it, and you can trade them a mid-level prospect to get Jock Peterson for the stretch run, I wouldn't hate it. He's a left-handed bat you can put in Camden Yards, and like you said, he's off to a solid start this year. I mean, he's not a world beater, but what he's doing this year, he's 256, 365, 48 with an 854 OPS and a 132 OPS plus. After being an 874 OPS and 141 OPS plus guy last year, he's going to get on base and he can hit for power. That might be the most likely guy that the Orioles could trade for to help the middle of their order. Look, the Orioles are 17-8. They have a legitimate opportunity to be 20-8 at the end of this month.
Yes.
At the end of this weekend,
yes.
20-8 at the end of April, 19-9. I think
they could be 19-8 by the end of today. I mean that would be really significant.
See, and that's one thing that I hate about doubleheaders is if they weren't playing a doubleheader, I'd have a lot more faith that they could sweep this series.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You generally split doubleheaders.
I think they'll probably split today, but then again, it is Detroit.
It's Detroit. Dean Kramer had a really great start against the Nationals and a mediocre start where he started strong and finished really strong.
Yeah.
Against Boston.
Pretty weak lineup in Game 1 too. I could see them winning with Grayson Rodriguez in Game 2.
Yeah. I don't think the Orioles lineup in Game 1's weak.
Ryan McKenna's hitting.
Yeah, but Ryan.
No Rutschman.
Right, but this might be the nicest thing you'll ever hear me say about Ryan McKenna. He's actually been hitting pretty well recently. He's hitting hitting 261 with a 69 OPS this year. And if you look at his last few games, he struck out with a big opportunity in the fifth inning of the other game. But he did double to get that rally kind of going in the seventh inning. And he's put some good... It looked to me like he maybe changed up his stance a little bit. It looks like he's standing taller in the box a little bit to me. But if you look at his game log, okay, he had his first hit against Boston on the 26th was his first hit since April 12th. It was his first hit in 2 weeks. But his last 2 games, he's 3 for 6 with 2 doubles and an RBI. Mm-hmm. And only the one strikeout. He's not walking a lot. I don't know. He's been hitting a lot better the last 2 games.
He
but
has.
2 games. It's 2 games.
I still do not think Ryan McKenna is a big league hitter.
I don't think he is either.
I actually don't think he's anything close.
Yeah. Well, no. I mean, his career. Let's go back. His career OPS plus.
His career OPS plus is 69.
Yeah.
That's
he's not a good baseball
31% better or worse than average.
We are really behind with Bob Phelan. A couple more points, and then I'll text him, and we'll get a break.
Okay.
But with where the Orioles are now with their outfield, Austin Hayes is banged up. He's playing today. Mm-hmm. He's actually leading off today. Santander's not producing. Ryan McKenna's Ryan McKenna. And Colton Cowser's tearing the cover off.
That's what I was about to say.
He was the AAA player of the week, not last week, but the week before. He's in 291.
Yep.
He started really poorly, and he's just crushing it right now down at Norfolk. Is that a guy who's going to be called up sooner rather than later, and maybe you moved Santander to a full-time DH spot?
Yeah, I mean, he's getting on base 435 right now. 435 for Colton Cowser. He's already hit 4 home runs. He's stolen 4 bases. The guy's been really good. He's walked 20 times. He's struck out 24. He's been excellent. Yeah. Colton Cowser's done everything you would hope Colton Cowser would do at AAA.
And this is after
I think there's almost no way you can not call him up at this point. I think with the outfield production they've had, if this was a situation where Anthony Santander, Austin Hayes, Cedric Mull, everyone was hitting well, right? If all three guys in your starting outfield were tearing the cover off the ball, then you could say, okay, let Colton Cowser stay down there a little bit. He's 23 years old, whatever. This guy is hitting .435 in the minors, or getting on base .435 in the minors, compared to what they're doing at the major league level, which is probably a combined on-base percentage between the three of them, probably around 310, given that Cedric is so high up in the 370s. But Austin Hayes, where is he at? Like 330 something right now, and then Santander down.
He's 277.
Okay, so you're probably looking at an average about 330 something.
So I look at Colton Cowser, and in his first 6 games, he was 2 for 24. He slashed 083, 241, 083 with a 325 OPS. In the since April 8th through now, he's 371, 506, 645, 1152. 506. 1152 OPS in his last 17 games. It's a small sample size, but look, what the hell is his name? I know Jackson Holliday's name. I just couldn't get it into my brain.
Okay.
Jackson Holliday wasn't even doing that.
No.
He was hitting. I mean, he was close to that.
Yeah.
In 13 games at Delmarva, and they moved him up to high A. Colton Cowser, with what you're getting from your outfield, it's not going to hurt you to have another left-handed bat that plays good outfield defense, who takes professional bats and gets on base.
Yeah.
I think that he might be ready, just about ready to get up here. I don't know that they're going to do it anytime soon, but I think Colton Cowser's days at the minor league level are numbered. I think he's on his way.
I agree with that. I don't think Heston Kjerstad's too far behind him, given what he's done.
Heston Kjerstad, the second that Colton Cowser gets called up to Baltimore, Heston Kjerstad's going to AAA.
So, by the way, I don't know if they're brothers or if they're cousins or something along these lines.
We're brothers.
I didn't know that Colton Cowser Heston Kjerstad had a relative who played in the minor leagues for about 7 years, from 2011 to 2018, Dexter Kjerstad. Went to the same high school as Colton. I keep calling him Colton. Heston went to the same high school as him. Was drafted in the 50th round in 2010 and played for 7 minor league seasons. I didn't know that. So
they look identical. They're definitely brothers.
They have to be.
They're definitely brothers.
I didn't know that. No one's ever talked about that. You've heard so much about Kjerstad and so much as him, as the second overall pick and all of that, but I've never heard that he had a close relative or even brother who played in the minor leagues for 7 years.
Let me see. Yeah, brother of Dexter Kjerstad.
Okay,
They are brothers. We are running super, super behind. I want to remind you, today's show is brought to you by the Toyota Tacoma, which comes in a range of models and trim lines. You can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. Today's show brought to you by also PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Baseball season is here, and for the first time in history, you can bet from your phone in Maryland. Go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers for the best sportsbook offers and incentives, so you can start winning today. Get 5-second chance bets at PointsBet when you deposit and bet your first $50. Just go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers to claim your incentive. When we come back from the On The Verge podcast, Bob Phelan joins the show, followed by Orioles banter. That's next on the Bat-Around.
What air conditioning company can save 50% of your energy cost and qualify you for up to $7,500 in rebates? A.J. Michaels. We do more, we do it better for less. In Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
Costas Inn has been serving up delicious steamed crabs for over 50 years. Lately, the crabs you want to eat when the weather warms up have gotten harder and harder to get. So get your crab eating game plan in place. Make sure to stick this number on your fridge, 410-477-1975. Call ahead and reserve the size crabs you want. You may be able to walk in, but you may also be disappointed at the size or maybe even get shut out altogether. So call ahead, have a plan, and then arrive on your crab eating vacation. Costas also has delicious crab soup and crab cakes. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard. For more than 50 years, they've been satisfying crab lovers in and around Baltimore.
Are you a diehard O's fan looking for the perfect way to show your team spirit? Look no further than Birdland Sports. Birdland Sports is a small business run by fans for fans. They offer a wide variety of unofficial O's merchandise, from the Birds Are Coming tees to player cartoon shirts and more. And the best part? Their prices are more affordable than the big guys. So head to birdlandsports.com and grab your gear today. Show your support for the Birds with Birdland Sports.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
I'm Griffin Bass, and I have the extraordinary, mind-blowing, and life-affirming pleasure of being the new producer for the absolute funniest, smartest, and most handsome sports host in all of Baltimore. Wait a second, Glenn, I'm working for you, not Jeremy Kahn. If you're not listening to Glenn Clark Radio, here's what you're missing.
He's Coach Kevin Willard.
Glenn, thanks for having me.
Baltimore Ravens wide receiver, Rashad Bateman.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
He is outfielder Cedric Mullins.
Thank you guys for having me.
Mr. Marcus Williams, who's now with us.
Man, appreciate it. Happy to be on.
Ravens kicker Justin Tucker.
Thanks for having me.
Adley Rutschman.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
John Angelos.
Thanks a lot. Good to be with you.
Ryan Mountcastle.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Marlon Humphrey.
Thank you.
Talia Tungavailoa.
Thank you guys for having me.
He is J.K. Dobbins.
Thank you for having me. I had a great time.
The great Ray Lewis.
Always good to be on.
He is Mr. Cal Ripken Jr.
Good chatting with you.
Watch Glenn Clark Radio at youtube.com/PressBoxOnline and listen live at PressBoxOnline.com/radio or anytime on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, or anywhere you get your podcasts.
Apologies to my mother, my aunt, and both of my uncles on my mom's side. They all also went to Delaney Valley High School.
How dare you?
The same high school as All Time Low. So even more of a connection. My own mother.
Maybe your mom was in All Time Low.
Went to my mom's All Time Low. Her All Time Low was the day I was born. Oh, God.
Oh!
I'm just kidding. She might agree. I don't know.
She probably does.
I do not know.
Huge disappointment. Paul Valley III.
It's not a disappointment. Press Box is Glenn Clark Radio, which is a definitive place to find the best daily discussion of Baltimore sports. You can watch the show every weekday from 10 to noon. Guys, if you aren't watching or listening to Glenn Clark Radio, you have no excuse. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it because you can watch them at youtube.com/PressBoxOnline or Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, or you can listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio with podcasts available on iTunes, Spotify, or anywhere you get your podcasts. If you're not listening, you don't want to, and you should want to. You never know who might pop up on GCR. This week, the guys caught up with Governor Wes Moore and Mayor Brandon Scott, Ravens legend Derek Mason, and Orioles prospects Creed Willems and Chase McDermott. You can find those interviews and more right now in the Glenn Clark Radio Week in Review feature at PressBoxOnline.com. Joining us now from the On The Verge podcast, he has all the intel on minor leagues, on the Orioles minor leagues, and also had a great interview with Eve Rosebaum the other day on the On The Verge podcast. He is Bob Phelan. Bob, it's Paul, it's Zach. Good morning. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, no worries. Thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, we are absolutely thrilled any time that we get a chance to talk to you. And Bob, my apologies right now. I never seem to be able to talk on this show. I'm constantly tripping over my own tongue for some reason or another. So apologies in advance for when I do that. We started talking a little bit about it on Twitter the other day. Ryan Mountcastle's defensive shortcomings this year. Last year, he's one of the better defensive first basemen in baseball. And this year, that is not the case. What have you seen from Ryan Mountcastle? Is this something that you think is just a short-lived thing, or do you think this is kind of who he always was?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure because it is a little strange. The finer points of first base defense, I don't know exactly what goes into it. I know even like the best fielding first baseman, isn't as valuable as a maybe even below average shortstop. So I don't know exactly all that goes into that, but it seems like last year he was making all his scoops. And, he was pretty athletic over there. He doesn't have the arm, of course. That's why he's not at third base, shortstop, or left field anymore. But this year, maybe, defense slumps too. Maybe, he's missed some scoops. He's missed some balls. Maybe it's just a thing where it's early season. short sample size, and it'll all even out in the end. But it hasn't been great so far.
Something else that hasn't been great with Ryan Mountcastle is his approach at the plate. And he seems to be hitting the ball as hard as ever, just like he was last year, and hitting into a lot of loud outs. But he's just not walking, Bob. He has 1 walk in the last 3 weeks. He has just 2 walks since opening day and 4 walks on the season. What have you seen from his approach? To me, it seems like he's just way too aggressive too early, and he's not waiting for his pitch.
Yeah, it's tough to say. That's kind of his game. I'm not exact. When we had Matt Borgschalte on sometime in the summer of last season, we talked about this with him. It's like, some guys you try to get that plate discipline up with Ryan. They're not exactly worried about doing that because his game is hitting the ball hard no matter where it's pitched, and he's continued to do that. And he's continued to have really bad luck. Eventually, I would think that starts to even out, but maybe he could pull the ball more. But when it comes to the walks, I just don't think that's ever going to be his game. It seems like every year he starts off especially bad in that department, and then he'll have a month or two where his walk rate is looking a little bit better, and then he'll usually end around, 5% at the end of the year. So, yeah, he's a free-swinging guy. He's hitting the ball hard. They got to start falling in, or else it's not as valuable as he could be.
Grayson Rodriguez, 4 starts at the big league level. He's allowed the leadoff runner to reach in each of the first 4 starts of his big league career with 3 walks and a base hit. He's given up runs in the first inning, I believe, in 3 of his 4 outings, and then seems for some reason or another to put it together. He's had 3 pretty good starts and 1 pretty bad one in his big league career to start. What have you seen from Grayson Rodriguez in the minors as opposed to the majors, and what do you think we can expect from him the rest of the way?
I actually think he started off kind of similar last year in the minor leagues at AAA, where, the results were still good, but that's the difference between major leagues and AAA is you can get away with just having that good stuff and put batters away. I feel like he takes some time to get his command under him, or at least the last couple of years, where he's kind of get a feel for it as the season goes on. Stuff is clearly good, but as we saw in especially that A's game, he was getting a lot of 0-2 counts, 1-2 counts, couldn't put guys away. Stuff looks great. He's kind of found the changeup. The slider's been hit or miss with the fastball. Command and velocity's been there. I think it's just a matter of getting his nerves out, getting comfortable at the major league level, and learning how to finish the job on the major league hitters.
Now, Joey Ortiz, he gets promoted up to the big league level, gets a start in his first major league game, and it was a big role player in that game. 1 for 3. He drove in 3 runs, had a sacrifice fly, and a 2-run single. He's an elite defender, at least from what we've heard and what we've seen. The glove has been major league ready for a couple of years now. Were you surprised that he was the first infield prospect promoted to the big leagues, and how much run do you expect him to get?
Not surprised at all. We are updating for our patrons, we update our top 30 prospect, top 50 prospect list once a month. So this Monday we'll have our first update of the season, and he's going to be a top 5 prospect for us at this point. He has just completely passed Jordan Westburg when it comes to who's the better prospect. Obviously, he's got the great glove. His exit velocities have been insane this season. His 90th percentile exit velo last year was 103, which is still pretty good, but this year it's 109, which is borderline elite. So there's power there, even though he hasn't hit a home run yet this year. He has a lot of opposite field power. He kind of lets the ball travel. That's why he doesn't strike out very much. He has elite in the zone contact rate. So I think the bat is really come along, and obviously he plays great defense up the middle. I'm not exactly sure, how long he's going to be up right now, but I think long term, at this point, he's like a dude now. He's a keeper.
I love that. He's a dude. Ryan Blake, I host a show with him, and I one time said to him, that dude's a dude, referring to Austin Hayes, and now we call guys dudes all the time. I love that you just said that. Jordan Westburg, you mentioned him. You said that Ortiz has surpassed him as a prospect for the Orioles. Now, Jordan Westburg, he's no slouch. He was the Orioles minor league player of the year last year, hit 27 home runs, drove in 106, which you don't see that too often in the minor leagues, a guy with over 100 runs batted in. This year, 315, 383, 548 with a 931 OPS, 5 home runs, and 20 RBIs. Westberg can play all three infield positions. He can play corner outfield for you in a pinch. How far away do you think he is? I was surprised that if anybody got called up, that it wasn't him, simply because the guy that he's replacing in Taron Vavra kind of filled that role too, where he could play the infield and the outfield. How far do you think Jordan Westberg is, and where do you value him as a prospect?
He's not far at all. And when I say that Ortiz has surpassed him, it's not a shot at Westberg at all. He's doing everything he needs to do. He's still a great prospect, still a top 100 prospect in baseball, and still like a top 5 or 6 prospect for the Orioles. It's just, I think Ortiz has come that far along. But Westberg, he's just an injury away, I think, at this point. I think, or trade. If Ramon Urias gets hurt or gets traded, I think he's up. He's a pretty similar player to Urias, with maybe even more upside. So, yeah, I think, it's a gluttony of prospects that should be ready to play in the major league like as soon as tomorrow. Pretty good problem to have. I think, unfortunately for him, that crowded situation is going to leave him in AAA longer than he probably should be, but it's a good situation for the Orioles and the fans.
And what about Colton Cowser? Colton Cowser, he got off to a dreadful start his first 6 games, but in his last 17 games, he's hitting over 340. I'm sorry, he's hitting over 370. He's got an on-base percentage over 500, an OPS of over 1,200. This is the guy that we knew was on the cusp of his big league debut. Anthony Santander has left a lot to be desired at the plate this year. Not that we're expecting him to replace him, but Austin Hayes has been banged up. He is leading off for the Orioles today and playing left field. But do you expect Colton Cowser is going to be here sooner rather than later? The guy, all he does is take professional at-bats.
Yeah, I do. I think, he got off to that slow start like you mentioned. He was just still hitting the ball, the same exit velocity. He was just pounding it into the ground. And then since that first 6-game stretch, he's kind of been able to elevate it a little bit more. And we've seen some incredibly impressive power. Pulling a ball over the party deck at Norfolk is an impressive feat. Clearly, he's going to walk. That's basically what he does. And he's really underrated on defense. He's made some diving catches. He's really good at reading the ball off the bat. He's got a good arm. He gunned someone down yesterday in after a doubleheader. And, yeah, I think maybe by June, end of June, I would think he's up. As long as he continues to perform, I mean, he's going to be like the Adley or the Gunner, where when you bring him up, you're bringing him up to play every day, because that's the kind of prospect he is.
So, but you think it's going to still be at least another month before he's up here?
Barring an injury, and hey, Hayes is already banged up. He might re-aggravate that, and he could be up sooner than even we expect. But yeah, I think he's incredibly close. But just because I know the Orioles love to squeeze every ounce of value out of every player that they can right now, I think they're going to give Santander a run to try to have a hot streak, and maybe at that point they try to trade him. But yeah, I think maybe another month or so.
Yeah, and that would make sense. I don't think they're going to be moving Santander anytime soon. You don't want anybody to get hurt to get Cowser up here. And Hayes is off to a really good start this year, as is Cedric Mullins. They're both getting on base over a 340 clip, in Ced's case, over a 375 clip. So you're still getting production out of your outfield for sure. Jackson Holliday, he gets a promotion from Delmarva to High A Aberdeen after just 13 games at Delmarva this season. Slash 392, 523, 667 with an 1190 OPS and 51 plate appearances. Had a 14-12 walk to strikeout ratio. First 2 hits at Aberdeen the other day were a triple and a home run. Jim Callis told us on the show during the offseason he expects Holliday to be in the majors by the second half of 2024. Is Holliday the real deal in your eyes, and do you think that that's a pretty realistic expectation for his major league debut?
At this point, it might be underselling him. I think he is beyond the real deal. I think he's the best prospect in baseball, at least top 3 bar minimum. I think it would not shock me. I'm not predicting this, but if things continue to go, it would not shock me if he breaks camp with the team next year in 2024 to try to get that extra draft pick for Rookie of the Year. He's just mature beyond his years. His timing on defense is impeccable. He's got a great arm, defense up the middle. His patience is like Colton Cowser levels, but he's going to continue to add power. We've seen that now. He's tapping into it a little bit more. 3 home runs in the past, 5 games that he's played.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's if we were excited about Gunnar Henderson, then we're going to be really excited about Jackson Holliday.
Does his game have a weakness?
I don't think so. He doesn't strike out. He walks a ton. He does hit, just like Cowser, actually. He does have a tendency to hit the ball on the ground a little too much, but again, recently he's started to correct that a bit. I think it's just, if you want to call it a weakness, it's just that he's 19 and he's still got a couple years to add some muscle to his frame and some natural power, which is only going to help, his potential extra base output. But no weaknesses that I could see right now.
Have you had an opportunity to see anything from his brother Ethan? Jackson Holliday was on the show, was on MLB Central yesterday morning. He was talking about how Ethan's probably the best baseball player in the entire family. How as a sophomore he already has like 10 home runs this year. Have you had any opportunity to know anything about Ethan Holliday?
I have heard rumblings that he's actually the better of the two, and I've seen a little bit of video here and there, but not a whole lot. But should we start tanking for him next season? We'll win the World Series this year, tank next year, and then take him.
Yeah, right. Get both Holidays on the same field at the same time for the Orioles. That would be absolutely incredible. I just thought it was cool that Jackson Holliday is so ridiculously good, and he says he's not even the best player in his family. I just think that's awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Before we let you go, Bob, and always a pleasure when we get to talk to you. You've played this with us before. We play a game on the Bat Around called Take to Rake. So you know the rules. The only rule here is that you cannot take Cedric Mullins because Dan Connolly took him last week. Now, here the thing here is we don't know if you get to pick first or not because you have played this game with us before, so you don't get the newcomer guarantee of picking first. And we had a really close race. I picked Adley. Adley went 6 for 22, 273, 333, 273, 606 slash line. I did not win. Despite not bad numbers from Adley, I did not win. Dan Connolly took Cedric Mullins. He went 6 for 21, a double, a triple, a home run, 6 RBIs, 2 walks, 3 Ks, a stolen base. That's 286, 348, 571, 919. Now, Zach took Jorge Mateo, who went 5 for 14 with a double, a home run, 2 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, 2 strikeouts, 357, 357, 643, and a 1,000 OPS. Mullins played in 2 more games than Jorge did this past week, only got 1 more hit in 7 more bats. So, Bob, who won between Cedric Mullins and Jorge Lopez for Take the Rake from this past week?
Well, definitely not Jorge Lopez. I know you meant Jorge Mateo. I think Cedric Mullins, I'll give the edge to just because, the playing time factor.
Bob just wants that guest win.
Maybe he would have got in.
Yeah.
What's that?
He said that you just love that you just love that guest win so you can pick first.
Oh yes, absolutely.
We have
just yeah.
Sorry, Bob. Go ahead. I don't mean to cut you off.
No, it's all good. Just if Mateo could have got in an extra game or 2, he probably would have come away with the win there. But sample size, what was it, a grand slam for Mullins too? So I'll give it to Mullins.
Yeah, and I just think that Bob hates Zach because last year when Bob was on the show and we played Take to Rake with him, we let him pick who the winner was because our 2 players had a similar week. And he picked me over Zach.
It's funny. Every time we've let a guest pick, I always lose. I've never won yet, and that's like 5 times. So I'm 0 for 5 in that category.
Our standings now are.
You know how much I love Dan Connolly. So
yeah, I can't blame you.
Our standings as we currently speak are: I have 2 wins, Zach has 1, and Bob, you are. Dan Connolly was our second straight guest winner, as Steve Molesky won the previous week. Taking Austin Hayes. So, Bob, you get to pick first. Who are you taking for Take the Rake? And remember that Cedric Mullins is off the table.
I don't think it even mattered. No one was going to take him. That's the pick with my pick. I'm going Ryan Mountcastle. I think he's gonna the luck's gonna break through this coming week. You got games against the Tigers this weekend, the Royals early in the week. Give me Ryan Mountcastle to come through with some big hits and a couple home runs.
All right. Zach?
That's tough. I can't pick Mateo again, which is rough. I'm going to go with, he picked Gunnar Henderson, correct?
No, he picked Ryan Mountcastle.
Oh, Ryan Mountcastle, okay. I'm going to take Adley Rutschman. Why not?
Adley?
I don't know. It was either going to be Gunnar or Adley. I think Gunnar's going to start getting hot here soon.
I'm going to take Jorge Mateo. I don't think I've ever taken him in the history of the show. He's been their most consistent hitter all year. And Watch, now I'll take him and I'll go 1 for 19 this week.
That's how I feel about Adley. I mean, that's why I'm...
Well, it's funny.
Gunnar Henderson might have a great week. I don't know.
Because for going into last week's show, Zach took Adley, and then he went 1 for 19 that week. So
I'm Adley's bad luck charm.
Yeah, you're everybody's bad luck charm. You have never won Take Drake for a full season. 3-time reigning defending champion of the world, Paul Valley. Take Drake. Bob, what can we plug for you before we get you out of here?
Yeah, check us out, BSL On The Verge, and wherever you get your podcasts, on YouTube, on Twitter, at BSL On The Verge, Instagram, TikTok. I actually don't know if we have a TikTok, but pretty much look us up anywhere, and we're covering the Orioles and having fun doing it. So please enjoy with us.
We certainly will. Always love having you on the show, Bob. We'll talk to you again down the line. Enjoy the season, and have a great day at work, all right?
All right, you too. Thanks, guys.
All right, man. That was Bob Phelan joining us on the Batter Round today. Always great talking to Bob, and always has great intel.
Yeah.
And he
doesn't
always
like Zach Goodman
against Zach Goodman for take
that's
Drake.
okay.
So Bob takes Ryan Mountcastle, Zach takes Adley Rutschman, I take Jorge Mateo, and we'll see how the cards fall next Saturday.
Yeah.
We got to catch our final break. I think I only have one read left. Is that correct?
That's not what I have, but we'll talk about it.
Okay, we'll talk about it over the break. Up next on the Batter Round, the Better Round, and final thoughts. All next on the Batter Round.
Baseball season is finally here, and what better way to celebrate than with some fresh gear from Birdland Sports? As a small business run by O's fans, Birdland Sports offers a great selection of unofficial merchandise, including unique designs like Birds Are Coming tees, player cartoon shirts, and championship prediction designs. And the best part, their prices are more affordable than the big guys. Get high-quality gear without breaking the bank. So whether you're heading to the ballpark or watching from home, show your love for the birds with Birdland Sports. Visit birdlandsports.com today to browse their collection and gear up for the season. Let's go O's.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Luke Jackson looks at the pipeline of talent still to come for the Orioles, diving in on last year's #1 pick, Jackson Holliday, and other top prospects like Colton Cowser, Heston Kjerstad, Kobe Mayo, and more. Also inside, Todd Karpovich profiles Orioles pitcher Kyle Gibson, and Bo Smolka breaks down what progress would mean for the team's 2022 draft picks in their second pro season. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farms stores, and you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Harford Community College in Bel Air, Maryland, along with the National Junior College Athletic Association's Region 20, will host the 2023 NJCAA Men's Lacrosse National Championship May 13th and 14th at Harford Sports Complex, 401 Thomas Run Road in Bel Air. Semifinals are on Saturday, May 13th. The national championship is Sunday, May 14th. Catch the action for $10 each day. Tickets will be available in advance or at the gate on game day. Qualifying teams will be announced.
What was that?
Me. Oh, say, have you seen all of Maryland's minor league baseball parks, PressBox is giving you the chance to check all of them out this summer. Head over to PressBoxOnline.com/contest now and sign up to win 4 tickets to each of the local minor league baseball stadiums, 1 Easy Pass Maryland on-the-go transponder preloaded with $25 and a $50 gas card from Royal Farms to help you get around. Must be 18 or older to enter, and the sweepstakes end June 14th. So get over to PressBoxOnline.com/contest right now to sign up.
Dan Connolly does anthem reviews. I'd give you
a 3.
B-.
B-. No,
that
was
bad.
That was my vibrato wasn't there. My pitch wasn't there. I need to clear my throat. It was the me did not work. I need a harmonizer, one of those things that you blow into to get the key.
Sure.
Yeah. Anyway, any who's a what's it's. Time for the bet around. Last week on the bet around, we told you to take the over 7 runs on Yankees Blue Jays at -120. That was a big, fat miss. Yankees won 3-2. I thought Garrett Cole was going to get his
really good
tees
again.
ripped off, and he was really good again. We told you to take Kyle Gibson at -146 on the under on 5.5. Did I say the under or the over?
On Gibson, I think you said the under.
I think I said the under 2 on 5.5 Ks. Another big, fat miss. 11 strikeouts for Kyle Gibson last week, tying a career high. And then on Joey Wentz, we told you to take +110 that the first pitch was a ball. Another big, fat miss. 3-pitch strikeout of Austin Hayes to start the ball game for the Orioles last week. On the season, we are now 3 hits, 7 misses. And I should have texted Zach last night to have him make some picks because, the Orioles game has already started.
It has, yes.
It's already started, and the Orioles have a runner on second with 2 outs. Damn. I want to be out of here in time to see that. But let's see. Is there anything that we can take here with the Orioles game? Now, I think that we'll just say to hit a humdinger.
And by the way, Austin Hayes led off the game with a double.
Nice.
So that's where we're at.
And he hasn't moved because what did Ryan Mountcastle do? Did he strike out?
I will check. I don't know.
I know that, let's see, Mountcastle batted second and Arias batted third, and because Tony Taters is at the plate now with 1 ball, 2 strikes, and 2 outs.
Okay, well, I'll figure out what Mountcastle did.
All right, so for the first pitch result, that's locked too. I don't know, man. You know what? We're going to skip the bet around today. We're just going to skip it. I was not prepared for it. The Orioles game has already started. I did not do my research last night because I was working for my other job so much that my eyes were crossing from staring at computer screens.
Santander lined out.
Yeah.
So, inning over.
So, what did the other guys do?
Mountcastle, it looks like he put it in play. Arias struck out. Mountcastle grounded out the third.
On what pitch?
Also, we'll try to figure that out. That is something I can't see, apparently. But it looks like Rodriguez, he couldn't have thrown many at all. So let me go see what Rodriguez threw. So far, why is this so hard to find? I don't know why they make this
I got it.
so incredibly difficult. You can find this? I don't know.
I'm on it. Hang on.
I'm not seeing total pitches, but I...
Let me go to game day.
Face
live.
Oh, 13. Okay, it was 13.
Yeah, Ryan Mountcastle. Let's see. Called strike 1, called strike 2, and on the third pitch, which was a ball, it was high and tight, he swung at and he grounded out 84.5 mile per hour exit velocity, so at least he didn't hit the ball 110 miles an hour right into the third baseman's glove. And Tony McTaterson's, it was on the 4th pitch.
Mm-hmm.
I've never called him that before, Tony McTaterson's. But yeah, so we're skipping the bet around today. I don't feel like scrambling.
After the losses last week, we got to recoup.
Well, yeah, we got to regroup. What I wanted to try and start doing is compiling these the night before, and I completely forgot about it. Because I'm going to be perfectly honest with you guys. I'm not a bettor. I have won 1 bet in my entire life, and it was on Super Bowl Sunday. And I had to split the money with my wife. So I am not a bettor. I'm trying to be more into it for this show specifically, but I don't care. Like... am I allowed to say that?
I'll give you something you do care about. We'll talk about the 4 decades of MLB players.
Oh, yeah. Look,
we'll make this quick.
Apparently people don't like our trivia, but whatever.
This one should be fun, and it was relevant to the show today.
How many players?
All right, so there's a lot, but a lot of them you're not going to know. So I'm just going to ask you to name the Hall of Famers, and there are quite a few of them.
That played in
4 decades.
4 decades.
Yes. So
one of the guys I was going to guess was Charlie Huff.
The most recent Hall of Famer retired in 2010.
Ricky Henderson.
Ricky Henderson is one of them. So he retired in 2003, 1979 to 2003.
Mm-hmm.
So Ricky Henderson is one.
Nolan Ryan, obviously.
Yep.
How many are there?
A lot. I mean, starting all the way. I'm going to skip the guys in the 1800s because who cares?
Yeah.
But starting in 1906 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There are 11
There's
guys.
no way, and that's going to take way too freaking long, man. There's no way
Let's see if we get 5.
Satchel Paige?
Satchel Paige is one of them.
Yeah, because he pitched in the majors at like 52.
Mm-hmm.
Ty Cobb.
Ty Cobb is not on the list.
Cy Young.
Cy Young is not on the list.
Really?
No.
So I got Nolan Ryan. I got...
One of them is a Oriole, former Oriole.
Former Oriole?
But not known as an Oriole. But a more recent Hall of Famer.
More recent Hall of Famer, not known as an Oriole, who played in 4 different decades.
Yeah. Retired in 2002.
Retired in 2002? Tim Raines. Tim Raines, okay. So I got Tim Raines. I got
Nolan Ryan, Ricky Henderson.
I got Ricky Henderson. And who else did I get?
That's what you have so far. Satchel Paige.
And I got Satchel Paige.
Yeah.
So my first 3 guesses were correct.
Yep.
So I have 4 of the 11 right now. I know guys that played a lot of baseball like Julio Franco, and I thought maybe Brooks, but Brooks played in the 50s, 60s, and 70s.
I looked up Brooks. It was not Brooks.
Yeah, because Brooks made the Hall of Fame in 1983, which means he didn't play in the 80s. 4 different decades. Eddie Murray just missed.
And by the way, the 11 was not counting Nolan Ryan, so I guess there's technically 12.
Okay.
Because we did talk about Nolan Ryan earlier.
Okay. I'm trying to think who had that longevity.
I'll say one of them is considered widely as one of the greatest hitters of all time. And I'll give you another hint if you want it.
Babe Ruth.
Not Babe Ruth.
Really?
No.
Because I guess he played in the
This was post Babe Ruth.
In the 1910s, 20s, and 30s. I guess he didn't play in the 19-aughts.
Yeah, early. I think like 1912 he came up, something like that. 13 as a pitcher.
Not one of the greatest hitters of all time.
And actually one of the guys on here is who I consider the greatest player of all time.
The greatest player of all.
Mays. Willie Mays is also on here from 1948 to 1973.
26 seasons
Long career.
in the majors as a position
Long
player.
career.
I know that Brooks played like 23 or 24 years. Brooks made more All-Star games than seasons played, which is crazy.
It's unreal.
Because they used to play 2. There was a stretch where they played 2 All-Star games a year.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Why do you need to do that?
I don't know.
Look, I'm done guessing, man.
Okay.
We both want to get out
I'll
of here.
read them. So Eddie Collins was one of them.
Never would've gotten that.
Ted Williams, Early Wynn.
I was going to guess Ted Williams. I can't believe he played in 4 different decades.
He did. He played from 39 to 60.
Wow. Okay.
So Minnie Minoso, Jim Cott, Willie McCovey, Carlton Fisk, you already said Tim Raines, and then Ken Griffey Jr.
That's right. Griffey played in the 80s, 90s, 2010s.
Final season was in 2010. So 89 to 2010.
Yeah. And he's my favorite player of all time.
Yeah.
I totally forgot because I remember he went back to the Mariners in 2009, and then in 2010, I remember I was in college when I read the article that he fell asleep on the couch in the locker in the clubhouse while the game was going on. He wasn't in the lineup, and he fell asleep on a couch in the clubhouse during the game. He hit no home runs his final year. It was like the most unceremonious ending to a Hall of Fame
And he was with the White Sox the year before that, I think.
He was with the White Sox in 2009 and got traded to the Mariners halfway through the year. And he actually had a decent year. I think he hit 17 home runs that year. Yeah. And then he just fell off a cliff in 2010. And
being old, being injured.
Yeah. And he wasn't a workout warrior. That was well documented.
No.
So... all right. Final thoughts. I think the Orioles are going to get a lot better. I think that they're going to get a lot better because of the guys who are going to come up from the minor leagues. I'm looking at Colton Cowser coming up. And the thing is, he was so bad at AAA last year. I bought into what Keith Law was saying about how he's just not a great hitter against left-handed pitching. And Heston Kjerstad was so good in the spring, got off to such a hot start that I really believed Heston Kjerstad would get to the majors before Colton Cowser this year. Cowser's going to be here imminently. In the next 4 to 6 weeks, he's going to be here.
You would have to think so.
And Kjerstad's going to replace him at AAA. But I look at the at-bats that Colton Cowser takes. I look at the at-bats that Joey Ortiz takes, and the bat speed is so off the charts. It's so off the charts that he's not going to strike out a lot at the big league level. I'm super excited to see what this team's going to do moving forward. They do need to get that middle of the order bat, and maybe Cowser coming up. Eventually, I think he'll hit in the top third of the order, and it'll push some guys down. Because Mountcastle and Santander, and we said it last offseason, they shouldn't be hitting 3-4, and I like those guys. I like them as 5-6 hitters, not 3-4.
I think Cowser's your 2-hitter. Mullins, Cowser, Rutschman, and then if Henderson comes around, Henderson
Honestly,
4. That's disgusting.
I think eventually it's going to go Mullins, Cowser, Henderson, Rutschman. I think Rutschman to me is a perfect 4-hitter.
See, I don't agree. I think he makes too much contact. I would put the most powerful guy at 4. That's always what I think of. When I think the most powerful guy is going to be Gunnar Henderson
Rutschman,
in the long run.
I think is going to hit 25 home runs, and he's going to hit 40 doubles.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't think he's ever going to be a 30 homer guy, but he'll hit 25 home runs and he'll hit 40
I think Rutschman
doubles.
walks too much for it, though.
But you want a guy that's going to walk.
Yeah, but then who's at 5, 6, and 7 going to drive him in? That's my question.
True. That's true.
I think Rutschman at 2 or 3 is your.
Can we
sweet
just
spot.
bat Rutschman like 4 different times?
Yeah.
Why can't we make it?
He can be all 9.
We made special rules for Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
You know,
let Rutschman just hit like 8 times.
Adley Rutschman is a transitional catcher. Make a special rule where he can bat 3 times. Just do it. He bats 2nd, he bats 6th, and he bats 9th. And he has a ghost runner.
I'm all for it.
We can put a ghost runner on second base. We can let Shohei Ohtani start a game as a pitcher and then become the DH afterwards. Absolutely.
I have an idea.
Adley Rutschman can bat 3 times in a game.
The Diamondbacks can loan Corbin Carroll for every time that Adley Rutschman gets on base, and then he can run for him.
You know that in the Independent League now, or in A-ball now, that they're trying out having a permanent pinch runner for a game.
Yeah, which I actually think is a really good idea.
Yeah,
I
like it too.
Yeah.
I mean, I like it too. All right. What do you got? Final thoughts.
That was my final thought. The 4 decades. I wanted to. I was going to throw that in there. So
Gotcha. All right. Special thanks to Bob Phelan. Always great talking with him. Special thanks to Stan the Fan Charles for his weekly segment. Thank you to all of our sponsors and especially to all of our listeners. Without you, we have no show. Thank you to Zach for the wonderful work he does every week, even though I do all the work. But I digress. I'm just kidding. We're gonna get on out of here. Go O's. See ya.